Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Nextlander podcast. Alex Navarro, how are you?
I'm back in the chair, brother. I'm here again.
Oh, shaking out the cobwebs. Always fun to get back and doing this after even a week off where I feel like I forget to hit multiple buttons. I forget how this all works. I forget how we're doing this.
You just press the big red podcast button and then it just shoots right out, you know?
Yes, that's right. Turn the podcast knob all the way up. Brad Shoemaker still on vacation, enjoying his extra week this week. Bless
that
him.
Motherfucker.
No, bless him. Especially since we will get ours. You got yours earlier. I'll get mine in the future. I'll get more into that in a second after I introduce our guest, Lex Luddy.
Welcome. It's so weird being on this podcast and not hearing the intro music.
I don't think I've heard the intro music in probably like 2 years.
It's good. It's good.
It's good.
Yeah. Turns out there's some good free music out there.
Yeah.
Look, we paid for that. We paid the royalty price for that.
Okay. Sound library, but you know.
Yeah. It's okay. Look, I got to find something. So I love browsing sound, royalty-free sound libraries because they've gotten good now. The some of them have gotten good.
I mean, it's all pretty generic, but at the same time, like, there are people trying things within the realm of sound libraries these days, whereas before it was literally just like, do you want a wah-wah pedal on that guitar or not?
Yeah, or like, what's your sound alike and drum machine beat here? Lexi, you are EIC of Start Menu and a friend of the site and someone
friend
who...
of the pod now.
That's right. And I should say someone who has been so gracious and courteous to invite us to do lists pretty much every year, like top 10 lists, end of the year lists, and every year I'm like, yeah, if I got time, I would love to, and then I never do.
And you know, I really fucking thought I was going to have you this year when Giant Bomb was like going to go away. I was like, finally, I've cornered the market. Those fuckers, they're out of my way. Great.
No.
And then they came back, those bastards. How could they?
How dare they?
Yeah, those lists are fun. But they're just a small thing of what we do at Start Menu. Start Menu is mainly like trying to help people break into games media, which, let me tell you, that was a way better idea in 2019. That made way more sense as a website in 2019. Now it's trying to help people survive games media. But it's a great website. I love that place. I also help run rewinder.co.uk, which is another small outlet. And that's basically me and three of my freelancer friends kind of wanted somewhere that we could house our writing now that it's getting harder and harder to get picked up for commissions. So we started a website. And that's been going pretty well too.
If you don't mind me just probing a little bit here, what is the current state of just like general European games media? Because I assume it's kind of bad everywhere, but like mostly you hear about the US sites and a lot of the US journalists just because that's kind of where a lot of things tend to center. And I have not really gotten a great sense of like where Europe is at these days.
It's rough. There's definitely been a big contraction. You saw a lot of those sites be folded into IGN recently. There was that big purchase. For me, it's kind of a case of like I'm another step removed because I'm in Ireland and pretty much all of the English-speaking games media in Europe is in like Bath and Brighton, which are both in England. And like I've talked to some people who live in Scotland who are in the games media, and even they're like, yeah, I feel really like isolated. I'm like, imagine how I feel. I'm way further away. So it is a bit rough in that sense. Gamescom is nice because we all get to meet each other and we get to hang out, and we all hang out at the same shitty Irish pub in Clone. And if you know that pub, you know that shitty Irish pub.
I might have been in that pub the one time I went to a Cologne Gamescom, because I do remember being in kind of a middle-of-the-road Irish pub somewhere near that convention
center. If you were in the Corkonian, you were in that pub.
That might have been it, yeah.
I found out that the guy who owns that place, like, when he lived in Ireland, lived like 10 minutes away from me. Like,
wow.
Okay.
It's not that big of a country, but that's still pretty wild.
Yeah.
I have a dumb question, and I'm allowed to ask it here, I think so. Or
is Ireland part of the UK, then you're going to be in trouble like that.
No.
Okay.
We're not Dan Reichert.
It's either slightly, it's either dumber than that or less dumb than that.
Okay.
Since you're in Ireland, what is an Irish pub? what would you say makes an Irish pub? Is it how sticky the tables are? Is it the wood in the pub?
Is it the temperature of the Guinness? Like, what does it for you?
It's a bit of vibes. British pubs do a lot more food, which is an immediate red flag. I don't want to
really.
I don't want to eat food coming out of it like a pub.
Oh wow, really?
I respect that.
Even like fried food, like you
can just get fried food like at this food stall down the street if you're really that desperate. Usually, I feel like
my actual conspiracy theory around the Corkonian and specifically, and why it became like the meeting point for all of the English-speaking games media, is that when British people are on holiday and they can't find an English pub, they're like, "Well, the Irish don't hate us that much."
That's it.
We'll go to an Irish
enough.
pub. This is basically the same. And then all the Irish people who work at the pub are like, these fucking Brits. They're showing up acting like we're chummy all over again. This is so yeah. That's how it usually goes.
You're saying battles are still being fought? Yeah. Inside the pubs.
In more ways than one.
I will say that when I told the guy at the Corkonian that I was from near where he lived, he was much nicer to me after that.
Wow. Okay. So what I'm getting is no food in an Irish pub, which I did not realize, or should not.
Or minimal food, at least.
Minimal food, and also never say you're from the UK.
Oh,
got it.
Okay, if I'm from Wales or if I'm from Scotland, is it okay?
Scotland more than Wales. Wales is like distant third.
Okay, got it.
But like, if you're an American traveling in Europe, just say you're Irish. They will be way more on board with you. They're not going to buy it, I don't think, and they don't want to hear my Irish.
Unless you want some like Lucky Charms bullshit. You don't want to hear me doing that accent.
I could maybe pull off the Canadian. That's about it. That's I can maybe fake it just because maybe they don't know any better.
Canadians in Europe, everyone's just like, we don't know anything about them, so we're assuming they're fine. And they have to put up with America, so it's like, listen, they have a rough go of it. They have to deal with your bullshit. So
that's right. Everybody knows they've got the really loud neighbor, so they must be pretty patient. Well, Lex, as much as I want to grill you about Ireland, because Ireland also one of those places that every picture that comes back from there, beautiful.
One of my favorite places I've ever visited.
And I've never visited. It's
a nice place. If you ever do visit Galway during the summer, really nice. Which, funnily enough, because I studied there, I was only ever there during the winter, and that fucking sucked.
Because like rainy and cold, or
yes, it is. Okay. It is just facing a big old ocean, and there's no shelter, and so it is always raining, and it is always cold, and always windy. But during the summer, it is like one of the most beautiful places in the world. And then I'm biased, but I love Cork just because I live there. And Dublin is a heaping trash fire.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I had fun in Dublin, but I will say that when I went to Ireland, we were there for a wedding in Cork, and we did the cross country drive from Cork to Dublin, just at the end of the trip. But like Cork was really nice, and like we went to like the Cliffs of Moher, and apparently we were there on like one of the 8 days a year when there's no fog.
Yeah.
So we saw the whole thing. And I sent photos of that to like my Irish friends, and they're like, how did you find the day of the year when this is visible, when you can actually see this shit?
I would love to go. My wife spent some time there when she was a teenager, like doing some camp thing where I don't know what she was doing there. She was like putting posts in for building bridges over peat moss bogs or something. Look,
to be fair, we only got electricity like 3 years ago, so that makes sense.
Right now you wouldn't believe it, but I had to run a cable all the way to Cork to make the call possible. It was
I'm constantly cranking like little
generator.
Yeah,
to make it going. It's part of the charm, really. Your lucky charms. Anyway, let's. Wow. Just don't worry. It only gets worse from here, folks.
Yeah.
We're going to spoil not only the entire podcast with these jokes, but we're going to do some spoiler stuff here coming up. So I want to give fair warning. I finished Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I need to air some of my Assassin's Creed Shadows stuff here. Also, Lexi, you reviewed Death Stranding 2. Now, we're not going to talk about the ending necessarily, but I would love to get your thoughts on that. So let's give a little brief moment here for people who are skipping 30 seconds ahead, who are just
this
offended.
is the demarcation line right here.
That's right. I'm going to say we're
going
to talk
politics again, I see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's right. Always bringing it back. Make sure nobody is not offended by the end of this. So yeah, we'll talk not necessarily Death Stranding. I don't want to, because I don't want to be spoiled. So not necessarily past where we are, but early game stuff and general thoughts on it. So that's a spoiler warning. I'll give another one when we hit Assassin's Creed here. But let's start with some Death Stranding 2 stuff. General thoughts, Lexi, on Death Stranding 2.
I want to like this game. The parts of this game I really do like. I should say for context that I gave this game a 5 out of 10, which I think pretty well encapsulates my ratio of parts that I like to parts that I really don't like. Like, if a score is to reflect any way of this, like, I'm either very hot on this game or very cold on it, and that's the best way to reflect that, I think.
How did you feel about the first one?
I didn't love the first one, but that's because so much of that game spent so much time with its own bullshit explaining things. The part of that game...
did ever.
The part of that game that I did like was the movement and the problem solving and the the moving about and solving the traversal exploration puzzle, as it were. But this game, my main thing with it, and I think you two are kind of like just on the precipice of it, is after about 5-7 hours, once you get your first vehicle, you really stop engaging with the version of traversal in that game that is the most fun, and you just go driving. You're just driving everywhere. And some of this is probably on me because I got the code the day of release and I was trying to get it done as quickly as I could so I could review it. So I was kind of min-maxing everything, and I wasn't just going on walks for the sake of going on walks. I was trying to take on as much cargo as I could, which meant I'm always in the truck and I'm always driving to 5 different places.
Did you try to when you hit a road that wasn't done, would you try to rebuild the road before doing anything else?
Oh no, because I think that's the other thing with the balance of the game is that right now, at least at the start, there is so many electricity poles that other players have put up that you really don't need to worry about getting a road paved, because you can just cross country it, you can just hoof it, and the truck can handle almost all the terrain. And then the few bits of terrain that it can't handle, pretty much as soon as you arrive at the destination for the first time of you reach the top of a snowy peak or something, they're anyway, here's treads for your truck that give it more grip for going up steep hills, and then suddenly that's never a problem again. And I just found that I was doing a lot of traveling in the dullest way. Something that I really love in those games is that moment when you press the hill and the music track kicks in, and it's this is a genuinely these moments are incredible, but because of how much you're in the truck in that, you wind up hitting the station that you're going to before the chorus even kicks in half the time. So it's just well, that was a bit anticlimactic. I just did this
sorry, Wood Kid. Next time, maybe.
Yeah. So I have the vehicle, I have the truck, and obviously the trike, and I've jumped in other people's that have upgrades too with those. This is weird because this is the third time I've made this reference on this podcast. But that toy that used to have the claws that come out of the wheels, when I found a trike that just had claw wheels on it, which was pretty cool. But I do also. You're right. The moments where you're tight roping across a ladder over a ravine or a river are super fun, but I do like driving and making deliveries. I do kind of getting that vehicle where it shouldn't go, or trying to get that vehicle as close to the drop off point as possible. But I have to say I kind of burnt out a bit in this area where I am now, just doing the loop, doing the go to the station. Oh, you have deliveries. Okay, I'll do a route back. And it felt, the part I'm in now felt so familiar from the first game. I think a lot of the novelty wasn't there for me.
And I think that part of that is this is a much easier game in places. So in the first game, it felt like things would go wrong, and you're like, well, my fucking cargo's ruined, and, you know, I'm not able to balance, and all my shoes are torn up. In this, it's just kind of like, well, I'm just going to do like 5 of these deliveries, like, I'm going to knock them out, and like, it's satisfying to do that loop, but there's that challenge and that, you know, that resistance that the first game gave you isn't there, which is interesting because, like, you know, Kojima was out there saying, like, you know, I made changes so that this is more divisive. But when you look at the game, all of the changes that he's made are really kind of ironing out the things that critics of the first game pinged it for in those reviews. Like, that first game is on, like, 82 on Metacritic, and this one's on, like, 90. And pretty much the big change is, like, yeah, he smoothed out a lot of the traversal stuff that people found frustrating in the first one. And I thought that stuff made it interesting.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on some of that stuff. Like, it's interesting because, like, in the first game, the whole, like you said, the novelty of, like, building the infrastructure, of, like, building the roads and, like, you know, putting all the, like, various, like, towers and post boxes and other things down. Like, that stuff was really interesting for a while, and then the game just kind of gave up on it at a certain point. And you're like, okay, that's fine. And I feel like here, it's like you said, there's so much stuff that is being populated by all the other players. It feels a little out of whack in a way. Like, there's just not really a lot of impetus for a player who is coming into this game after it's been, you know, out for a couple of weeks to spend a lot of time doing anything that isn't mission critical or mission specific, because that stuff will just populate. Like, there are just bridges fucking everywhere in my game. And I'm not complaining because, like, hey, that does make some things that are just going to be really annoying easier. But I think they kind of, like... it kind of takes
away from the tone. Like, it feels like the game mechanics take away from the writing at points, or are in conflict with the writing, where it's trying to be like this desolate wasteland, but it's so populated with multiplayer stuff, at least at the moment, that it really doesn't feel like that. And I think that also comes up in the writing with, like, Dollman being your companion. I think Dollman's a great character. I'm not sure if you've come across him yet. Like,
I've warmed up to Dollman. I did not love him at first, but I think as I've started throwing him in the air, it's gotten better.
Yeah, he's a really fun character, and his performance is like one of the better performances in that game. But having a character with you all the time in that game really takes away from that, like, isolationist feel of the first game that I think made it feel quite unique. And that's one of those things where you look at it and you're like, oh, Sony totally told them, like, hey, more people play games if they have a sidekick that tells them what to do. You know, like, more people finish these games if they have a sidekick that keeps them going.
I mean, I'm sure there was also a little bit of motivation to sell a Dollman doll at some point. That feels very much like a thing Kojima would have had, like, top of a fucking bullet point list. Like, we got to sell this fucking thing. But I don't know. Like, I'm nowhere near the end of this thing. I still have a lot to go. There are 2 things about it that I think are definitively better than the last game. One, and I'm sure I'm keeping the narrative, like, judgment off to the side. But whenever the game stops to talk to me, I am way less annoyed than I was in the first game, because I think the character work is generally better in this one. I think the stuff that pops up narratively has at least been interesting enough, if not still completely fucking ridiculous. I think the performances, Leah Seydoux aside, generally are pretty good. She's not terrible. It's just that, like, she clearly has just not dialed into the weirdness of this thing the way a lot of other actors have, and I think that there's just not much you can do with her.
That's fragile? That's
fragile, yeah.
I think some of the Leah Seydoux stuff, and it goes for the other female characters as well, is, like, a weird part of this game that I, at least at some point, kind of found uncomfortable was, like, everyone is really nice to Sam all the time. No one ever disagrees with Sam. It's always like, thanks, Sam. You delivered those toilet papers, so now we can finally take a shit. This is great. We wouldn't have been able to do this without you. No one else could have delivered toilet paper, Sam. Thanks. And then, like, you hang up on them, and it goes back to third person, and then Fragile calls you over the comm, and she's like, Sam, I'm hearing word that you delivered the toilet paper, and no one else could have done it. Well done, Sam. And it's just like, some of it's in the direction of the characters, where they're being told to be quite monotone, and, like, that's what a lot of the performance is. But it's really weird having these, like, a bunch of female actors that Kojima clearly really likes just praising Sam constantly. I'm like, at some point this is just uncomfortable. Like, I don't need this.
I will. Everybody is nice, but also Sam is just like, Sam will do anything. Sam will be like, Sam
is not the asshole he was in the first game.
Sam will just be like, I just lost my kid. I'm really bummed out for you, Sam.
I guess I'll go to Australia, sure.
But we do need this toilet paper delivered.
Yeah.
Be like, yeah, I guess you're right. It's all that's all I'm good at. I'll get back to the kid stuff at some other point. Backpack on, toilet paper.
Yep.
How much toilet paper can I fit? Also, I found somebody else's Gundam model. I'll just put that on my back. Also, I guess this drum machine needs to go somewhere. You know, like Sam is a very willing character, maybe a little too. The whole thing where I'm at now seems like it's something's got to give. I don't know where the story goes from here, but the whole thing feels like a setup for, I mean, I'm sure it goes in bananas places, but like Fragile, you're right. Fragile almost seems too nice, where it's just like, what are you doing? What are you doing to Sam? What are you
setting up here?
Yeah, why do you need Sam? It seems like you have a lot of other options.
You have a ship that goes through the tar. You have George Miller and a doll man. Why do you need him?
Let me tell you, they do address that, and it's real dumb.
I bet it is.
That's what I'm expecting.
I will say ye haven't got onto this character yet, but the character played by Luca Marinelli, the guy who they've showed off,
the Solid Snake stand-in.
Yeah, he doesn't have like much in the way of dialogue, but he is really good. And I think some of it is like he might just have very expressive eyes, so he's good for like motion capture. But he puts in probably the best performance of this game with his stuff. Even if he probably has no idea what the fuck he's talking about when he's talking about it.
I mean, it's funny because that is very clearly the Mads Mikkelsen replacement character, and that was also the best performance in the last game, so maybe just the weird Wraith characters are where Kojima is putting all his directorial effort.
So Lexi, what were the things that you liked? Like, what's the other 5 out of 10?
I do really like... that moment of cresting the hill is still, there's nothing quite like it in video games. It really, there's no other game that has that quite like good a needle drop in a lot of ways. And like, you know, Kojima
nobody cares about needle drops like Kojima cares about needle drops.
And I do think that like a couple of the characters are genuinely quite a lot of fun. Like I like Dollman. I think Rainey has some interesting stuff going on, but she's super underutilized.
Is that the Elle Fanning character?
No, Rainey is the woman who's pregnant, and she was the one she was in Deadpool.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. She's in the trailers. She's the one who's. I assume you're talking about the woman who's was in all the promotional materials. Like, in the. Was it Gamescom's weird?
I think Kojima has just been posting a lot of stills of that character's model, so he's just been posting this pregnant woman to Instagram over and over again. It's interesting. It's a choice.
Yeah, I mean, Timefall. You know?
Yeah.
Timefall. She's pregnant forever. She can't. The baby's. You know.
It all makes sense if you think about it.
That stuff is still weird. That stuff is still like,
dude,
it feels like you're working through some stuff maybe, and
definitely.
Is this like group therapy?
Yes.
And it gets a lot more like that with kids stuff this time.
Okay.
Where I'm like, oh, did you like also need to work through some kids stuff? And then on top of that, he seems to still be working through some Metal Gear feelings, which is very funny. Of like, oh, you have not let some of this go, buddy. Okay, no wonder you were making Fizzant. Like, okay, you clearly need to get some stuff off your chest about this.
I mean, look, I think I said this when he first showed this character and did the whole thing with the Luca Marinelli character. And it was just like, you know, who among us has not imagined a hotter, Latiner version of the man we can no longer have? You know, like, honestly, like, that's just what he's working through is like, here is my hot, solid snake that I'm just going to look at now.
That's right. Come at me. I will probably still keep playing it. I didn't play any of it during our time off, which I thought I was going to play quite a bit of it. But when I
just didn't want anything arduous during the break, you know, like I played a little of it, but I kind of wanted low friction stuff for the most part while I was relaxing.
But I would boot it up and then I would be like, oh, right. And then I'll kind of see what I have to do. And then I would do it a little bit and be like, I'm going to go play I'm going to make other mistakes and I'm going to go play some Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Oh, there you go.
So before we move on to Assassin's Creed, anything else you guys want to say about Death Stranding 2?
I will say Troy Baker's having a lot more fun this time, and I think that it benefits. I think that Kojima found it a lot easier to direct Troy Baker than some of the Hollywood actors, probably because Troy Baker knows who Kojima is and knows what he's going for. So like when Kojima's like, hey, listen, you're gonna like do some weird sing-song shish. Troy Baker's like, okay, I've seen Alan Wake 2. I know what you're talking about. Whereas if he tries to explain that to, you know, award-winning actress Leah Sado, she's like, dude, what are you talking about? What? What?
Well, Troy Baker's also kind of a goofball. Like,
It's why this character is better this time around, because he was just a complete nothing last time. Like Higgs was not an interesting character in the first game. And it's like, I don't know if I call this performance like, you know, capital G good, but it is wildly entertaining comparatively.
It feels like he's ripped out of like a Vinegar Syndrome. Like,
yeah,
he feels
like weird grindhouse garbage movie like villain, but like just hamming it up.
I love that for him. Good for him.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten too much Troy Baker, just a couple of scenes, but they have been fun so far. All right. Before we get to our break, I do want to hit some Assassin's Creed Shadows stuff because I
right
want
over
people,
the head
with
a big hammer.
Because I want to get to it so people, if they don't want any spoilers, can skip right over into the ad break, and then we'll be past the spoiler land. So again, these are spoilers for Assassin's Creed Shadows. I have finished it. I'm not going to say anything that I don't need to say, but I will be talking about some of the ending stuff here. Pause.
Okay.
If you can call it that.
Yeah.
So here we are in the spoilers. So I saw credits on the game.
You said you put in like 100 hours-ish?
I'm about 100 hours-ish. I still have a lot of circles that I need to murder people in. But
they're smaller circles is what you're saying.
I think what is the Shinbaku is the main circle.
Yeah.
I think that's a terrible circle. I think that circle goes nowhere. I think that circle is meaningless in this game.
They kind of set it up like it's the point of the game.
It's a garbage circle. It's a circle of garbage. Nobody has anything. So Yasuke's story is so much more interesting, especially by the end of that game. Again, this is the spoiler stuff, but Yasuke's story touches on the Templar stuff. And
right.
I don't know too much about Valhalla.
I might be able to help you there.
Yeah, so I don't even think it matters because I'm not sure it ties into any of that stuff. I did not get really any in the main story stuff here. You get some memory fragments you could look at, but what is it? What's the like progenitor, the alien race, the
Isu?
Isu, yeah. I'm not sure there's that much of that in there, even in the memory fragments. There's not a lot of animus stuff in there. It's Yasuke does encounter a Templar, and so you get some like.
I can tell that's where his story was going because he keeps making these little allusions to like why he's with the Portuguese in the first place, like that there's like some sort of mission he's on, but then like they spend a really long time never addressing that.
And he like does a lot of double takes, right? When somebody mentions a name, right? Yasuke will be like, who? What? This person? I need to track them down. And it's a kind of a satisfying ending towards the end. And it's also a revenge tale, but it's a much more, it feels heavier. It feels earned, Yasuke's story. But by the end of the kind of overall credits thing, I wasn't even sure the story was over. Like Naoe's story just kind of farts out at the end, and you're like, wait, is there more game here? And there's an epilogue, which is like, go check out the epilogue. I'm like, oh, okay, you're going to wrap this up in the epilogue. And it didn't. And it feels like it's just a setup for the DLC. So minor story stuff here. You basically end the game by returning the stolen item that was stolen in the very beginning of the game.
The mystery box.
Yeah. Hanzo, do you remember? I think
yes, I remember Hattori Hanzo showing up. I kind of wish there was more of him.
There, you get a little bit more of him at the very end. Basically has another box, and there's a third one missing. And Hanzo's like, oh, by the way, this is probably a big spoiler, but again, it's like a wet fart. Like, oh, your mom's still alive. The credits, and you're like, what?
Wait, and it's fucking what?
Yeah, and then it's credits, and then you're like, wait, what? And then it's like, oh, there's a lot more stuff to be done in Japan. Go murder some people. And I'm like,
but for why? Wait, what?
Yeah, and so like,
I hope they reveal that your mom is like actually living in like underwater as well with the lost city of Atlanteans. Yeah,
that'd be cool. But like, it just kind of ends there, and you're like, wait, what about this whole thing about killing all these people? basically killing 90% of Japan to go get this revenge quest. And you're like, you just kind of murdered these other people.
We got a homestead now. Who gives a shit?
They were all kind of power hungry and, various reasons to murder them. It really, really kind of fell flat.
Okay, let me ask you, and I don't need you to, like, articulate every detail of this, but, like, the thing it seems to be building toward is that a lot of these Shimbafu, like, the people who were involved in the conspiracy, the big conspiracy, seemingly, are all kind of unaffiliated and don't really know what's going on. Like, they've been promised power by the person who is the central figure in all of that. So they're like, yeah, we'll go along with it. And then it seems like they kind of went their separate ways after that.
Yep. They have their various motivations and motives, and it's all kind of manipulated.
They're all pretty boilerplate, but,
they could have been more interesting, but yeah, it is this collection of people who have grievances for one reason or another that were promised power, right?
But there is like a center circle person, right? That was sort of organizing all of this. Is that person interesting at all? Nope. Or is it just a rando?
It's not really a rando, but they're not that interesting.
All right.
It's like, it's someone who it's like, oh, I don't know.
It's not fucking Loki, is it?
No, it's way less interesting than that. No, way less interesting.
That's what I thought they were setting up, is that Bossum was going to show up again. Because, why not?
No, way less interesting than that.
That's so sad.
It is so sad, and then you just kind of make some choices, and you're kind of out of that circle. And so you just kind of, the bigger kind of shocker is that whole thing of like, oh, I guess I would go find my mom, but I guess that'll be some DLC down the road. I know they have DLC planned. And
there's a campaign coming that is the DLC campaign, which I'm sure will tie some of that stuff up. That is not great.
Yeah, you could speed through that story. Alex, if you're still chewing through it, just speed through that story.
68 hours, my friends.
Yeah.
Vinny, I'm super curious. If I say to you, so Ghost of Your Toy is out in a few months' time.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel about going back and playing more of the Assassin's Creed stuff when that DLC drops?
So the thing with Assassin's Creed Shadows, I love the gameplay. I actually really like playing as Naue, and I am okay playing as Yasuke. Like,
he's a little too easy, I think, in times, but he was designed to be that way, so I kind of get it.
He's just not mobile enough for me. Like,
he's not an assassin. Like, he is a aligned person, but he does not have the assassin training.
So for Ghost of Yote,
we'll just go with Yote.
For Ghost, I am curious what they do with the gameplay. I like playing as a ninja. Like, oh, okay, yeah, give me ninja stuff, give me cool things. If their story is good, I will be way into it. If
Vinny, let me tell you, it is about a woman hunting several people who betrayed her and killed her family.
Stop.
For revenge. I'm not sure if you've heard this one before. So,
I have, but I haven't heard it set to lo-fi beats by the guy who made Samurai Champloo. So,
right.
So, like, if the gameplay is good and the ninja-ing is fun, I'm into it. I think the gameplay is really fun here, again, with Naue mostly. There might be too much of it.
There's definitely
too much of it. And we've talked about this before with Assassin's Creed Shadows. You stumble into murders so easily in this game.
And so often.
Where you're like, I murdered 3 people from this other circle on my objectives list, and I don't even know why yet. I'll come back to it later.
I still have 3 incomplete circles that I don't even know what the name of the group is, because I've just killed a bunch of their members without even knowing what the context was.
And you get you sometimes get part of the ability tree is locked to completing out a circle. So
right.
I have been trying to knock some of those out. I sit around with points a lot, especially for Yasuke, because I mostly use I forget what it's called, the big club.
The Kanobo mace, I believe.
Yeah, so I use that, and I maxed that tree out a while ago, and I use the sword. I don't use a lot of the other weapons. I really wish they had given
Naue maybe like 1 or 2 of extra weapons, as opposed to giving Yasuke like 7 of them,
or let you put a ranged weapon on in addition, but or at least did it so you can switch to a ranged weapon easily. I'm not going to go into the menu to switch to a bow to switch back to the club, because the club is so good at taking down the armored defenses of the enemies. I always want to have it on just in case. My problem with Yasuke was mostly, again, mobility-wise. There's a lot of ground to cover in that game. There's a lot of running around, climbing. But when you're using Naue to uncover map, she has so many fewer things in the world to engage with than Yasuke. She basically has the meditation spots in the world that you specifically need Naoe for if you're gonna do those. Yasuke has the archery stuff on horseback.
The one thing I don't do when I see it on the map, because that shit's annoying.
It is annoying, but I do knock them out, and also all of the training spots.
Yeah.
And so uncovering the map as Naoe winds up being this thing of like, oh my gosh, I gotta go fast travel back here as Yasuke to go do this thing, because you can't necessarily just switch when you hit the
What they should have
person.
done is give Yasuke the destructibility powers from DK Bonanza.
There you go.
And just have him like go straight through mountains.
Yes.
That would be awesome. Let's get that game.
Yes, just Kool-Aid Man through everything. Just like literally just start running straight and don't stop. I think Yasuke is a fun character, and by the end I was actually, like I said, more into Yasuke's story. I think getting around as Yasuke is a little cumbersome. Yasuke also can't climb as quickly vertically as Naoe can.
And not in as many places either.
But I still really enjoyed the game enough to put 100 hours in. I just can't believe that story was spread so thin over so much distance.
Well, I mean, the reason I can believe it is because that is exactly what Assassin's Creed Odyssey was, and this is the same team. Like, they really took the design philosophy of that game, and I think they changed a couple of things, but for the most part, it's that same idea of you can just go everywhere and do everything in basically any order, and who gives a shit? And I think that worked okay in Odyssey, but I think here it's just too much. Like, it just, I think a more focused thing would have probably benefited them a lot. And I also, I honestly think they may have just kind of kneecapped themselves a little bit, but with the split protagonist thing, because it's not that I don't like both characters, it's that I think, but just by virtue of the way it's sort of designed, one of the stories inevitably ends up getting the short shrift, you know?
It is kind of nuts that, like, on a podcast with people whose job it is to know about video games and play video games and be knowledgeable about video games, it takes the power of two people to understand the franchise of Assassin's Creed at this point. Like, you have to work together. You have to plot it out. At some point, you're going to have to consult a wiki to actually figure this all out. You're going to have to watch a 5-hour YouTube video. Like, it's gotten so sprawling.
Vinny is our expert for everything up through about Assassin's Creed 3, and then everything from Black Flag on. That's kind of my wheelhouse. And then we come together, we write the Sacred Tome.
You are giving this podcast too much credit when you say people knowledgeable about video games. I appreciate it.
I have reviewed several of these. Vinny.
But not our strongest suit. But you are right. The Assassin's Creed quote unquote lore is so twisty and windy.
Fucking nonsense.
Yeah, it is nonsense. And I wish this game did more to keep the ball in the air. It really doesn't. It's not even playing the same. I don't
think they know where that ball is even supposed to go anymore. I think that ball has just flown so far afield of where anyone intended this thing to go that they are now just like grasping at like, well, what could the Isu have been up to this time? I don't know. Hey, what if Loki was there? I don't know. Like, I just like figure something out.
At one point, the idea of a franchise that could go anywhere in history was so freeing and so awesome of like, oh, they could do like any setting. And now it feels like this burden of like, oh, every setting has some bullshit with the fucking Templars. No matter where you were in history, the Templars showed up and fucked everything up.
It's a tortured lore. Like, that lore has just been beaten to death over and over again, and there's just not much left to do with it, but they keep having to bring it up because it's there, and they can't just say, well, the Templars don't matter anymore, but you can go kill people. I don't know. Like, you can't quite do that.
They kind of do that here, which is, I guess, fine, but I want them, instead of easing off the gas, push it all the way down. I think some of my favorite stuff in the earlier Assassin's Creed story was the stuff where it started getting into aliens and like, aliens coming and early man and you're like, what the hell is going on here? And like, they're watching you and this was all predetermined. Then it started getting weirder with Minerva and all of that stuff. And I lost the thread with when it started getting later on into the Valhalla things.
Yeah.
But I do find it, at least, I find the bullshit interesting and to talk about. There's not much to talk about here.
I'm curious. My like one final question on this is like, at what point, how bad does Ubisoft's financials have to get for them to break the glass in case of emergency and say the name Desmond again? Like, how extreme do things have to get?
I don't know. They only had 2 glass things. One was feudal Japan. The other is Desmond. So I feel like if they break that other one so soon after this, they are out of shit. They got nothing left.
I honestly don't know where Desmond is, Alex. If you do, is Desmond in a computer?
He's dead.
Is
Space
he dead?
Alien dead? Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, he's
right,
dead,
exactly. Yeah.
But I believe his brain ended up in some sort of like ancient computer or something, because I want to say, and someone can by all means correct me on this, I'm pretty sure one of the endings of Valhalla is that Layla goes into the whatever alien computer thing and Desmond is there and just becomes one with that computer.
Desmond does or Layla does?
No, Layla does.
Hell yeah. See, that's at least something to talk about. It's kind of interesting.
I'm never going to be mean to Kojima ever again. I take back everything mean I said.
I mean, all video games are dumb. Kojima's just a special brand of dumb, and this is its own special brand of dumb.
So maybe there's more with the DLC. The other thing for story-wise, but the other thing I'll say is the gear system in this game is hot poo-poo. It is.
Yeah, it's not great.
I just don't even understand it.
I don't
really
care about it.
I have had the same gear set on mostly for 50 hours because I have the perks I want on the gear.
Yeah.
I like the look, and you can do the cosmetic look versus the actual look of the thing. So I like the look I have of my character. I think I switched it up recently once just for funsies. And I haven't gotten anything that's better. You can just upgrade the gear. You just upgrade it to your current level. It's not that expensive. And so I don't really understand the gear system all that well.
What if I told you another detail, which is that those perks barely fucking matter. It doesn't matter what perks you put on them. It barely matters because I'm swapping gear left and right, and I have never had a combat problem in this game ever.
So I think some do. So there is like 1 or 2 things that, and this is why I haven't changed it, where I forget what the perk is, but there's a perk where you throw your kunai after you do an assassination. And that's huge for me. Like, I assassinate somebody and that kunai just flies out, doesn't even use one from my inventory, and it's a double assassination. There's another one where you do more assassination damage in certain circumstances from the shadows, I want to murder people as quickly as possible. And so that's again why I like Naue over Yasuke for just moving quickly, because now Naue can assassinate basically 3 people if you get the double assassination. Kunai goes out, and then with the Tanto, I think you get the basically assassination on demand ability.
Vinny, the nuts thing about you saying this is suddenly I'm like, oh, the gacha game Assassin's Creed makes so much sense now. Because they can just build these characters as like perk setups. Like, oh my god, that makes so much sense now.
I mean, that's what the gear kind of is. It is kind of a perk thing. But at some point I found the one that rolled for me, and I'm not going to give up a whole assassination for a plus 0.2% crit chance, right? Like it's like I found the set that I love using, and it was pretty early on, and I haven't switched it out in a while, especially for Naue. For Yasuke, a little bit more, but I also got a perk that's like you can put 2 perks on a thing, but the one that lets you block unblockable attacks, which is like great. I just broke the game with Yasuke even more, because now Yasuke all the bosses who just hit you with red attacks, they're getting bounced back because I can parry those attacks as well, which is very, very funny. By the end of that game, I was a destruction machine, even on the boss. Like, they set up these big boss fights. You're like, no, I can't believe
we're doing any of that today.
Yeah. I can't believe we're having this massive fight, and here we go. The wind's blowing, it's raining, lightning cracks, and then I'm just staggering this boss in 3 hits, where they're just. I use the Naue's chain most of the time. I forget what that thing is, but you just strangle them around the neck, yank them forward, hit them again. They go on the ground, hit them while they're on the ground, and then you just pop a couple of assassinations, which is very funny to me. I like when games let you break it like that.
Every boss is just the guy from Indiana Jones that he just shoots.
Totally.
Pretty much, yeah. But I also think that that's one of the things that maybe they just have not quite figured out the balance for yet, because it feels like it does kneecap some of their big dramatic moments when they have like those boss fights. And then it's just like, Yeah, I just fucking shoved this sword through this guy's chest in 2 hits and he's dead. It's like, this is not the duel you were setting up.
It is very funny. I mean, look, this is video games, and so this is not a knock against Assassin's Creed, but I was playing with my kids in the room, and there is one quest to, duel. Yasuke has to duel some people, not kill them. You just duel them.
Sometimes you kill them.
But sometimes you kill them. But mostly you're dueling them. And one of Yasuke's moves is just take the katana and just shove it through the soft part of their neck and just pull it back out. And I'm just doing that repeatedly to somebody while I'm quote unquote dueling them. Yeah. And then it just cuts
back. And they survive it, don't worry.
No, they just survive it fine. And my kids are like, whoa. You just kill him? Like, no, that's just video game killing. That's a
video game sword. It doesn't actually cut anything.
And then the cutscene, they're like laughing. Oh, you're such a good swordsman. Be like, yeah, no.
My larynx is torn up, but otherwise I'm fine.
Yeah, it's very funny. And it's the same thing on bosses where they're like, ha, fight me. And then the first move is Yasuke running up and just putting a sword through their neck.
Oh, shit.
Oh, right. You're just going to go right there, huh? Oh, boy. Okay, well. Anyway, my thoughts on Assassin's Creed Shadows. Really fun gameplay, especially as Naue.
Great setting.
The map, you're too damn big. You're just too damn big. You can't park that here. You need to slow down. You roll it. I want to talk to the person who has played this game and is like, there just wasn't enough for me to do. Not that it wasn't interesting.
See, I don't want to talk to that person.
The person who's like, I could have gone for another 100 hours of that same thing. Because I think there's a lot to do there.
But it's a lot of the same
samey,
stuff.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it's the exact same thing Valhalla had, which is that yes, there is a volume of stuff, but the number of things is probably like maybe a dozen to 18 total variations.
I want to know if Ubisoft can make a 40-hour game with really high highs. That's what I want to see, because Mirage was not good. It was very mediocre.
Very mediocre.
And so I want to see if they can do that with really great storytelling.
I think the answer is no.
You do.
I think the answer is no. That is not the way they make games anymore.
I also think that's not what the fans want, because I do know some people who they're not video game fans. They are Assassin's Creed fans.
Right. It's like a Madden thing, it's like or a FIFA thing.
And they listen to the audiobooks, they listen to the radio dramas, they read all the comics that come out, and it's like, no, they want their one game a year that comes out to last them an entire year. And to be that year-long project that they can talk about and that they can make YouTube content on or watch YouTube content on, and have their subreddit discussions go for months on end. That's what those people want.
The Evergame.
I don't blame someone for wanting that, because we all have our media properties that we're probably more obsessed with than they actually deserve. We all have those little things. I can't, these days, I'm not sure I can imagine a less rewarding one of those to be incredibly obsessed with. Not because the games aren't fun, but because they have so deeply run out of ideas for where that narrative is going, what these characters are, how any of this matters in the grander scheme of whatever world they've built here, that I feel like at a certain point you are just trying to digest anything they throw at you and turning it into something hopefully better than it actually is.
There's so much of it. So much Assassin's Creed Shadows. Again, I think it's really fun to play for what it's worth. I was really disappointed in Naue's story.
Which is unfortunate, because it really felt like most of the game was setting up her whole thing, and for that to be the thing that doesn't land is a real bummer.
We'll see what the DLC does. Maybe that DLC.
But that's not how you end a game story. I'm sorry, a DLC campaign is not where you put that ending.
No way, not a chance. I had to when I finished be like, did I do a wrong choice? Did I murder or not murder the right person?
You just didn't finish the right circle, Vinny.
Yeah, maybe. Because there also is one or two things left on the map, the little glitches that say I go to get them, and maybe this is from the free DLC that came out, and I just don't realize it. But they're progress further in the story. And I'm like, there's no more story. And it might just be the free DLC that came out.
Again, Odyssey had like 3 different endings that were all part of the end of the larger narrative. And those were done by completing specific quest lines and circles and whatnot. So it's possible that one of those bigger circles might actually have another credits roll somewhere in there.
Maybe.
It is kind of nuts that like Star Wars Outlaws, suddenly when you go and play Assassin's Creed Shadows, you're like, oh, they were telling the truth when they said that they were trimming things down. And that game's like 40 hours long.
You know what? Yep. You're right. I really liked Outlaws. I thought that game, I forgot that's Ubisoft. Yes, thumbs up. More like that, please. I should play. I think, is there another piece of DLC?
Yeah, there were 2 DLCs. There was the Lando one and there was Jabba the Hutt one.
I didn't do the Hutt one. I should do that. And that's out now?
Yeah, they're both out.
Okay. All right. Well, that's my thoughts on Assassin's Creed Shadows. Alex, I'm very curious to hear your thoughts if and when you get to the end.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm literally, there are 2 areas I have never been into in that game, and every other area I have basically hit everything on the map so far, so I don't think I actually have that much game left.
I have been reluctant to look at the trophy list in that game. I don't know if it is a thing like, I should take a look. I've just been reluctant because I do feel like if I poke in there, I will then go try and get the platinum in that game, which
have to do that.
Which I'm scared what that might mean.
Vinny, let me tell you, do you want to know what game has a really attainable platinum?
Sure.
MindsEye.
And we'll talk about that
Aha.
right after this break. Stick around. We'll be right back. All right, we are back, and we are out of the spoiler zone. For the most part, we're out of the spoiler zone.
By and large.
Unless you talk about, like, the video game crop maybe getting spoiled. I don't know. That's a little harsh. We did mention MindsEye before we came into the break here. Now, Lex, you finished MindsEye?
I finished. I'm unemployed. I'm not sure if you know this. I finished MindsEye.
You're working games media, I assume.
Yeah, you know.
Right.
Yeah, that's what my family's like. It's like, oh, do you work? And I'm like, I work in games media, so no.
Yeah.
Here and there.
Yeah.
I dabble.
But yeah, I played all of MindsEye. I played about half of it on a live stream, and then I played the other half in my own time for my own edification, because I needed to know.
So when I found out that you were playing or played MindsEye, I booted it up and I started playing some as well. And I am early in MindsEye, and I have to say, now, okay, 2 things. First thing, a lot of bagging on MindsEye, probably warranted. Not only because
I've seen the highlight reel clips, my friends. They did not make it up.
Yeah. So, dunking on MindsEye. Also, the Benz has not done any favors by the whole the internal saboteur, like people
and external. Don't worry, there's sabotage from every direction, man.
So okay, so putting that aside, my first maybe hour and a half, 2 hours of the game, B game, like pretty typical B game stuff. Is it Diaz is the protagonist? Yeah. You're in your future city, very GTA opening. Hey man, welcome back from. Really fast setup in terms of like, I got you this job working security. Oh God, you're taking on. We never had any other security people ever at this company because you're going to handle everything from now on.
So Vinny, quick question: would you call this an open world game?
Oh, I'm not far enough in to say that. So I did drive around. I didn't try to go outside the bounds of the mission quite yet.
You see, that's a trick question. It's not an open world game.
Yeah.
They built an open world, but until you roll credits, you can't drive around that open world. It is only the scripted missions. And if you
is it like you're leaving the zone?
If you leave the zone, it fails the mission and it sends you back, which is really weird.
I have had it. There are, in the early part, again, only about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. That's probably pushing it of what I played. I have had a lot of follow people in various ways, both in a car with a drone.
It's a very slow start. Some people on their Reddit were accusing them of making it slow on purpose so that people couldn't get a Steam refund.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah, You say it's a B game, and I do agree with that, but it kind of feels like a B game from 2013.
Oh, I don't even know what a B game is today.
Yeah, but like,
yeah,
it feels dated in a way that we don't see games like this anymore, you know?
Nope.
Of a very specific time and place.
This is like an Xbox 360-ish experience for
like
sure.
Xbox One launch game type stuff.
And the mechanics back it up. I think like the example that I had been giving to people was like, it is a very traditional GTA shooter style shooting, except in GTA, there's this small mechanic where if a character rushes up on you in GTA 5, you can pistol whip them or you can hit them with a melee attack by holding the shoot button. In this game, you can't. And it's small considerations like that where like, oh, these AI enemies just bum rush you. And then because they're up in your face, you're trying to aim at them because there's there's no free shooting. You have to aim, and it ends up becoming a massive hassle. And even if the game was, you know, functioning, which like I'm playing it on a PS5, it does not run well on a PS5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And also it doesn't have any of the creator stuff on the PS5. You can't play other people's levels on consoles. But like if all of that stuff was working, there was still just enough of those death by 1,000 cuts small mechanics where you're like, this would still be a pretty bad game. On top of that, it's also broken. On top of that, it's also built like a game from a decade and a half ago, with like game design philosophies that were like not great then and are even worse now.
Mm-hmm.
How have you found the writing?
Pretty pedestrian, I guess, so far is what I could say. Workman-like would be another way to put it. Like, there's nothing. The setup for the story is it opens with, I'm gonna say, an enticing setup. Right? It's like whatever military thing is happening, they find some secret chamber that has what looks like alien glyphs and stuff in it, and then that talks to the drone that finds them, and then somehow that gets transmitted back into Diaz's head because Diaz has the MindsEye, one of a very few augments from some. What would you say the analogy for the company? Like an Amazon or
it's literally he's an like Elon Musk stand-in, but the weird thing is, you would think that a game like this would wind up being like, and he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
Oh, no. The Elon Musk stand-in is like your pal for this whole game. It turns out he's like the guy that you're going to be being backed by, and he's actually in the right. And it's like, oh, okay. And then what's
the name of the company in the game? Sophie? Sylvie?
It sounds very memorable, whatever it is.
I'm trying to think. You've got a Sylvia car.
I think it's Sylvia.
Sylvia? Yeah. You've got a Sylvia car now?
I think it's his second name, which is Sylvia.
Okay.
And how much do you care about where this game goes is the question.
A little bit. Since it's not a very long game, I might just try and knock this one out. Because what's the runtime on it? About 10 hours?
It's about 10 hours.
Yeah, I might run this out.
I will say that for the final 3 hours of that game, I ran into a glitch where the screen would basically like flash and dim and flash and dim a weird green hue constantly, even in cutscenes.
Oh.
And I tried shutting down my PS5, I tried closing the app, I tried restarting the game. Could not get rid of it.
Oh no. Okay. 3 hours is a long time.
Yeah. And once you finish the game, it's then kind of like, okay, now you can go do Play MindsEye, which is the levels that we've created for the multiplayer that we're definitely going to bring in the fall.
No. Yeah.
Right now, if you're on console, you can only play, I think there's about 28 missions that Build a Rocket Boy have put in there themselves. And they're all like multiplayer missions. They're all like, do a race, or do a drone race, or do a checkpoint race, or survive some waves of enemies. But you do them all solo. And
there's no matchmaking or anything?
There's no multiplayer in that game yet.
Okay.
And when you do them, it's just like, oh, here's your time, and you've gotten a gold medal or a silver medal or a bronze medal. And the races don't have any AI cars either. So you're just racing for times.
Okay, like a point-to-point kind of thing?
Yeah.
Huh.
Which is interesting. I will say that this game on PC has a whole creator mode that I haven't seen. And it seems like those missions aren't playable on consoles, which was kind of their whole marketing for this game, was like it's a portal of endless entertainment or whatever.
Yeah.
Because originally this game was meant to be a part of a thing called Everywhere, which was going to be a user-generated content thing. This game was going to be playable inside of Everywhere. It was going to launch through Everywhere. And I've written a whole piece...
Their bigger project, right?
Yeah, I've written a whole piece documenting the history of this game and how they've talked about it for the last, 5 years. Basically around 2023, IO Publishing got out there and said, actually, we're publishing MindsEye, and it's now a $60 game, and it's not inside of Everywhere. And at that time, Builder Boy was kind of adamant to no, Everywhere's still coming, and it's, this is being built with the technology of Everywhere, and the Arcadia Builder technology. And there's credits in the game for the Arcadia systems or whatever, which is their tool that they're using. But none of that is accessible or evident in the game, and it doesn't seem like it will be. It's weird. It feels bad being too mean to it, because that studio employs 500 people, both in the UK and abroad. And ultimately, I'm just how do you employ that many people and it wind up being this? The amount of art, just art alone, you look at this game and you're like, oh my god, this was so expensive. There is so much art in this game. There is so many 3D assets and models and things made. And how was there not a direction at any point to correlate this into a cohesive video game? Because it's not really there's a story there, but this isn't the video game that they're selling you. They're selling you as an open world video game. It's not. Once you get into that open world, the only things that are in that open world are portals to the missions that I described earlier. So it's hey, you walk up to this shimmering portal and you can do a race. And it's a single player race. But there's no wanted level, there's no garages to upgrade your cars.
Wait, there's not? So if you're going and doing donuts on pedestrians, you're never going to get...
Because in the story, they write a bit of dialogue that's oh, we've told the police systems not to flag you.
Yeah, because you work for basically the corpo state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that carries over into the single player when you're playing as a guy who I'm not sure if you've seen this. When you complete the game, you don't play as Jacob Diaz anymore for story-related reasons.
Oh, I haven't. No. Okay.
You play as a different guy who is a slightly schlubby guy with a crop top, tank top, and on his chest he's also wearing a filtration gas mask, and on his chest it has written in marker, can't drink dust.
Wait, could you change is there any customization?
Nope, that is the one character you can play as.
Great.
Is Can't Drink Dust Man.
I don't know if they thought this one out all the way.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they really thought this one through all the way.
My vibe is that this date was probably set in stone when they thought GTA was coming out this year.
Oh yeah.
And then they realized hey, we don't have the money available anymore to keep this going any longer. We just have to put it out. I think the most baffling thing about all of this was when the reports of the game coming out and doing really badly were going around. About a week passed, and then Leslie Benzies got out there and he had his first all hands meeting with the development team, and he's credited as the creative director. And the idea of a creative director going a week after a game's disastrous launch and not talking to the team doesn't sound like a good way to have a work set up.
I mean, look, I don't know the Bens. I've never met the Bens. I don't know a lot about the Bens other than what has been said about the Bens, but I don't think the Benz is used to failure, honestly. I don't think that's really a thing that Leslie Benzies has run into that often in his career, because he has been known forever as the fixer of the most successful video games in the world, or at least they were at the time before Fortnite came along. And so everything about this just feels like a man out of his depth a little bit, and not just in like a development sense, because I'm sure that man is very well, versed in what it takes to make a successful video game, but like having to be at the head of this thing, having to steer a ship, having to steer this many people that are all under his employ and not a larger employee of Rockstar or whatever else. It kind of just seems like he's floundering, and in some really unfortunate ways. And
like that kind of shows in the fact that, it feels like the world has just moved on from what maybe would have been his way of running a company. Of like,
and making a stamp, like a solo stamp.
And it's resulted in a game that feels kind of out of time as well. I saw a really interesting post by a Scottish game developer who now lives in Canada, but they were talking about how, like, in Scotland, there is a big vibe of like, hey, if you're not Rockstar North, there's a big pressure to prove that you are worth talking about in the same breath as Rockstar North. So there's a lot of, people who will promise very big or have to promise very big to get either government support or to get like seed funding or whatever, but they have to be like, no, we have ex-Rockstar people, and they are constantly compared to the success of Rockstar, which must be like super difficult.
Oh yeah. And I bet it's tenfold when you were part of the Hauser circle. Yeah. Like when you were literally at the upper echelons of that whole thing. Like, I have to imagine the pressure is immense. It doesn't excuse the state of things, but I do think that it seems like that might explain why they got so far out ahead of their skis so quickly.
Yeah, like I am actually kind of, maybe it's a bit of morbid curiosity, but so far the game hasn't really
you haven't open world Vinny'd it yet.
I have definitely run into a few things. There was one that what was I doing? It was very early on where it was like, you walk outside and the woman who works for that Elon Musk company is like, there's a tail, they're following you, lose them. And I'm like, okay. So I just like drove straight over like a ramp and like jumped over like 7 buildings, and you have pretty decent air control with the car to the point where you can like land on your wheels no matter how flippity floppity you are, and like just cleared half of what felt like half the map. And she's just like, good, you lost them, drive to the factory.
Great.
And it was kind of awesome. I gotta say, she's not like, it didn't end the mission. So there is some, I don't know if for better or worse, if there are hijinks in that game, but it hasn't I'm still at the fun jank.
As the game goes on, it does just become a lot more pop and drop shooting. Like, it just becomes
I have not enjoyed the combat.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. There was a lot of drive for about 3 minutes to a place. And that's the other weird thing is, like, there's no radio stations in this game. So they try to have characters talk to you while you're driving. But, one, that leads to a lot of, like, filler nonsense where it just is like, oh, you're just filling time here. And 2, like, sometimes you're just driving in silence. And it's weird. You're just like in your car driving in abject
and it's
silence.
All like desert.
Yeah, it's all desert. And then you get there and you're like, okay, I'm going to shoot 30 guys and now I'm going to drive back.
Oh, they don't just like fast forward you back to the...
This game only has like one fade to black of... hey, you've been knocked out and we're moving you to a different part of the map. Almost the whole rest of the game is, you are going to drive to this place. You are going to fly to this place. You are going to walk to this place.
And again,
walk back.
In a more fully featured game that maybe had like an actual open world and more things going on.
Or a map.
That
like,
could
this
work.
game doesn't have a map. You can't open a map and be like, fast travel me here.
And I'm saying, like, in a game that was a little more fully featured that way, that kind of driving mission design isn't the worst thing in the world. But in a game where there's literally nothing else going on around the edges, that feels like a leftover from a bigger design doc that got shredded.
Yeah. I think that IO have probably learned a very tough lesson with this being their first third-party published game. I think that when you look at, like, oh, this is an ex-Rockstar person who, like, if an ex-Rockstar person gets out there and says they're making a new game, publishers do come sniffing. They do go look at it. And so I'm willing to bet that, like, other publishers were looking at this game and bigger publishers probably were like, yeah, okay, we'll pass. And then it's a newer publisher that hasn't done this before that's like, we'll bet big on this.
Yeah, they know. They knew internally before that game got into anybody else's hands that it's going to be a problem. At least I assume.
It would be hard to really,
for the people working on it.
that.
Yeah,
I mean, like some of the statements that they were getting out there with pre-release, though, it really seemed like they kind of did a round of previews that was mainly YouTubers, and several of the YouTubers were like, not like destructively bad because they were trying to maintain that relationship, but they were kind of like,
right.
We'll see how it goes. It was a lot of like, we'll see how it goes.
Curious to see how it shapes up, you know?
It was the traditional, like, you just played a bad demo and you're like, good luck with that.
Right. Still got some time on the clock. You could...
And they were out there already on their Discord being like, oh, we think that people have been paid off to say bad things about our games. And then when people on the Discord were like, that's a wild thing for you to say as the co-CEO of this company, he was like, it's not wild when it's true. I'm like, wow. Okay.
The saboteurs are out there. Look, I'm no saboteur, but if you want to pay me off to say good things about the game, you know how to reach me. If you hear me coming out there suddenly being like, MindsEye, everybody's bagging on it. And also, I suddenly am like,
driving a Ferrari.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I'll split the money with the audience. It's cool. We'll all get in on this.
You're like, actually, guys, I don't need to buy a new car anymore. I have a Maserati. One just showed up. It showed up at the front of my door, and I'm sorted. Die.
And but I'm too busy playing and enjoying MindsEye to drive it anymore. It's wild. Poor me.
Look, no disrespect to the Benz and the long career he has had in this industry. You do not have the right to be that level of paranoid that fast after your first game bombs. I'm sorry.
I don't know. You work at Rockstar. The paranoia is...
That's a different paranoia.
It's a meal of the day.
That is the people at the top chewing their way down and just ruining lives versus just like, you're the one at the top here. You can't just blame nebulous factors. You can't just say fake news or whatever the fuck.
I will say that there does definitely seem to be like legit bad blood, because when I was doing research for that piece, a news story that like wasn't super picked up around the place was at one point Take-Two issued basically a warning to Build a Rocket Boy saying like, hey, we think you're poaching our employees, stop doing that. And they sent it through the courts, and the courts basically said to them like, hey, these people are threatening to sue you for poaching their employees, stop that. And that was like settled out of court. That never went to court, but there was like an initial like, hey, teacher, you're being told on to teacher. So like, I definitely do think that
something might have, like,
I think there's real animosity there for sure. I mean, I don't know exactly with who, probably one of the Housers, I would imagine, but like, regardless, I think the bigger thing is that like, you can't just start blaming everyone but yourself the second your game doesn't do well.
Yeah, look, I'm willing to entertain that maybe there was some funny business going, but also making games is extremely hard.
And you would think he would know that more than maybe than some other people.
So we'll see. I'm curious to keep going. Lexi, you think the writing does not play out here in any...
Vinny, I would love to hear your opinion on the ending of that game.
Okay.
Because that game has a moment, and it cuts to credits.
Yeah. And
it's maybe the most I've been like, well, I guess. Okay.
Sure.
Well, I did just finish Assassin's Creed. So
did you ever see do you remember that Dracula movie that they did like years back, and the end credit scene is the guy from Game of Thrones being like, let the games begin, and then the games never began?
That was okay. All right. Let me trace this back
Dracula
for you for
Untold,
a second.
That was it.
Dracula Untold.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be one of the times that Universal was launching their big Universal Monsters Connected Universe.
Yeah.
They had multiple stops and starts. Perhaps you remember the Witness the Beginning of a Dark Universe, all that bullshit with the Mummy. But before the Mummy even...
There was Dracula Untold.
They tried it with Dracula Untold, and that thing bombed so hard that they rebooted the reboot.
Yeah, and the ending of that movie is like, it fast forwards to modern day outside of Transylvania, and it's like New York, and then you see that Dracula's still alive, and then the guy from Game of Thrones is watching him, and he's like, let the games begin.
Got it.
So now...
Does like Evanescence kick in at that point or something?
So it's one of those endings where they're clearly like, let the games begin in everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
And you're like, oh, no.
Witness the beginning of a MindsEye universe.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, now I'm even more curious. I think one of the last things I did in the game was perform a CPR mini game, which I think I did correctly. That person seemed to
Yeah,
live.
that mini game was so busted when I played it that I spent about 35 minutes of my Twitch live stream trying to do it. And
Wait, it just kept failing?
The like failure rate was so demanding on controllers that like it was almost impossible to actually succeed at it. So what I wound up having to do, because it's on the triggers, and there's way too much dead zone in the triggers. So what I did was I rebound my controller on a PS5 system level to be, because I have the Pro controller, to be the two back buttons, the clicky ones. And even then, it took me about 30 minutes.
Oh my God.
So the window was too tight for the amount of throw on the triggers?
Yeah, it was real bad.
I didn't understand. So you do chest compressions, and that's the like trigger part, and then you have to do mouth to mouth with. I didn't understand you have to use both sticks.
Yeah,
is
both
that right?
sticks.
Yeah,
it's
so
weird.
And so there's a fail state for that. Sounds like, and it's not just like a branch in the story. You just fail and have to do it again.
You keep doing that. It starts that cutscene back up, and you are going mouth to mouth with that guy again. It's like, let's get right back in there.
Okay. Yeah, that was I think one of the final things I did before we came to record. I was hoping that the combat I did not enjoy necessarily, but it's very headshotty, or at least the parts I did. Like one shot, they're not squishy. At least, yeah, maybe you fight robots later on. Seems like where it would go.
At some point in that game, they give you kind of like a big, heavy revolver-style pistol that like one-shots most human enemies at close range.
Okay.
And then it's just like, oh, I'm just locking on and shooting these people. Like, it becomes like tap, tap, dead, tap, tap, dead, tap, tap, dead. And it's just like, it's... At that point, you're like, okay, now this is what this last quarter of this game is going to be.
It's got that, if you push the aim button, kind of soft locks onto the closest enemy.
Yeah.
So you you track and then you just sit back down, then lock again, pop and then
it's
come back out.
It's very GTA 5 like in a lot of ways.
Yep.
And unfortunately, just not in the ways that matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, MindsEye, thank you for, it's been out for a while. We're a little late to the MindsEye coverage here, but I think maybe I'll put the remainder of my 8 hours in and see where it winds up.
And like I said, you can get that platinum in a single playthrough. I only didn't get that platinum because I forgot to pick up a weapon at the end of the game. And there's like a weapon where they're like, this is like the really cool weapon you get at the end of the game, but there's no marker as to where it is in the room. And I was like, where's this fucking gun? So I just left the room, and then it turned out that was one of the only trophy I missed.
Oh, wow. And you're not going to go? Because you couldn't reload a save?
I could, but like at that point, I really start questioning my life.
Yeah, like what are you doing?
Already, I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, listen, I just put 10 hours into MindsEye so that I could say I could, and because it was a funny bish.
Yeah.
If I go back, then it's like... I have to
You're
face
kind of pushing the limits of good taste there, you know?
I have to face people in my family who ask me what I do for a living. And sometimes I have to explain that to them. And I can't live with myself if I have to do that.
I get it.
I'm playing on the PC, so the trophy achievement lust is
trophies are meaningless there, so you don't need it.
Yeah, I don't need it. All right, MindsEye, still, I believe, $60. I think you can get a discount.
Just wait.
Yeah.
Just wait.
That was another weird thing on launch day. The game launched at $60, and then the Steam page for about 5 hours had a $70 version available. Nothing else different. They just had a second tab underneath. It was like buy now $60, buy now $70.
Not for some special edition.
No, they just messed up the Steam page.
Oh, eef. I think there is still a special edition you can buy if you. There's an $80 deluxe edition. See what happens. All right. MindsEye out now. If you're curious, you've heard of it. Heard of it. I'm going to switch gears to a game that I am really enjoying. Kaizen, a factory story. So this is all but in reality a Zachtronics game. This is not actually put out by Zachtronics. I believe it is put out by
Devolver put it out?
Publish it? No, this is developed by Coincidence, which is like I think it's like a collective. I don't know exactly how Coincidence, the developer, works, but there are some ex-Zachtronics people.
The email for this says it's from the team or from the team at Zachtronics, but it's like this is a new venture.
That's right. And published by Astrological. So this is a Zachtronics game, again, all but in a name, really. But it's got a little bit more story in it. Well, I shouldn't say that. The Zachtronics games do have story built in. At least some of them do. But you're basically a new factory worker from the States. It seems like maybe you have like a Japanese heritage, but you're going to work in Japan from the States. It takes place in I believe the 80s. I could be getting that wrong, but I do believe it's in the 80s. And you go to work at a factory, and you're making all sorts of things in the factory. And cue the Zachtronics factories part of this game, where you're using machines to push and pull pieces around, to weld them together, to make all sorts of stuff. Currently, I am making all types of plastic food for display windows.
Okay.
And you're getting rated on how many steps it takes, how much area you're taking up in the factory build, and the cost of all the parts to build it, and being graded on that. Really enjoying it so far. Very, I don't know,
satisfying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Satisfying.
Would you call it satisfactory?
It is, but
how
it's
Factorio is it?
They're very different. It's not that type of game.
I know.
But it is in the I think Steam is actually having their sale, their automation fest, which a lot of these games in it. It is of that kind. It is an optimization game, right? That is what it is. And I dig it a lot. If you're curious about it, you should absolutely go check it out. Kind of flew under my radar. I hate that I didn't necessarily catch on to it because it is not Zachtronics TM.
I do remember you talking about this at some point not that long ago, and I think you discovered this exact information.
During
it's
the
like,
Planorama.
the Zachtronics people are working on this. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was during our Planorama, and it's a bummer that because it didn't have the Zachtronics name on it, I think I didn't click through immediately to be like, oh yeah, I'm immediately in. That's on me, but it is definitely of that kind of game. And
do you know there's a lot of these games now?
There are a lot of these.
I'm literally just looking at the ones that are on sale, and it's a lot of them.
Oh, you mean the Steam Automation Fest?
Like the automation games, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of games now. It's weird.
That's the other thing, yes.
Yeah. I love these types of games. I think it's a broad category of games, but I'm looking through their page now, and it looks like 50% of them maybe even are some Zachtronics games.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. These are all great games. But they range, like Factorio is on this list, Satisfactory is on this list, along with stuff like Shapes, and they're just very different games.
Yeah. I'm not saying they're all exactly the same, but I'm just saying in these kinds of like mechanism-based games that sort of scratch that particular itch, I feel like there are a lot of them now.
Yeah, like this type of game, Kaizen is it's less a spinning plates game than those other factory games, and it's more of an optimization game. How many moves can you build this thing in? To be very efficient, but I really, really like it. It's $20. If you're curious about those types of games and it flew under your radar, you should absolutely go check it out. Kaizen, A Factory Story. I'm playing over on. I bought mine on Steam on the PC. I think that's it for the stuff I have been playing. Lexi, it's time.
Yeah,
tell me about your journey.
So
bring it.
This was a confluence of a few things. Switch 2 came out, and around that time, I also got a Retroid Pocket 5, which, if you're not familiar with that, that's one of the more high-end kind of Chinese handhelds that can do upwards of PS2 stuff. And I was kind of looking for stuff to focus on with that, because I got an Analog Pocket a few years back, and I just put the entire libraries on there, and I realized that was a mistake, because I never played anything then as a result. There was too much on there, so I was like, no, curation this time.
Yes, that is the key. You really do have to.
Yeah. And And actually, I spent my entire weekend just trimming my library on my analog pocket because I was like, I need this to be more manageable. I need to be able to like scroll through these at like a normal rate. But I really like Persona 5. I really like Metaphor ReFantazio, and I really like Persona 3 Reload. And so I was like, maybe I should check out other, Atlas stuff that I might have missed. I know that there's loads of SMT games. Do yourself a favor and Google like SMT Connected Universe and look at the images, look at the spreadsheets that people have made trying to explain how Shin Megami Tensei connects and how Mega 10 connects. So I went really deep on that, and this also happened because I got sent a review code for Rido Remastered, which Rido is a spin-off of Devil Summoner, which were RPGs.
Was itself a spin-off, was it not?
Yes, which itself was a spin-off of Shin Megami Tensei. And the Rido games are set in like Taisho era Japan. So I played that and I reviewed that, and I was like, that's pretty good. And then I started playing Soul Hackers 2, because that's in the same universe. I was like, well, if I'm playing a bit of Soul Hackers 2, I should play Soul Hackers 1 on the Retroid. So I started playing Soul Hackers 1 as well as Soul Hackers 2. And then the Switch 2 came out, and I was like, well, I kind of want to play something on the Switch 2 that like runs better now. And I realized that Persona 5 Strikers actually runs at a like acceptable frame rate on there now. So I bought that and I started playing that. And then I went on holiday to Spain for a few days. And I was like, well, I want something to play while I'm on holiday in Spain. And I realized I never played through Tokyo Mirage Sessions. It's like, I've heard pretty okay things about that. I got on the plane.
No, that was great.
I got on the plane. I loaded up where I was, which was like at the end of the first dungeon. And I hit there was a man sitting next to me and a woman sitting next to me, either side of the seat on the plane. And I got to a cutscene where you meet your like instructor for the first time in that game. And she walked into shot how I would describe her walking into shot as boobily.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
And I was
really
like,
paints a picture.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, I think I'm done playing this game in public now.
Yeah.
So I
mean, it is a home console game. They didn't really mean for you to be out and about and playing that one in front of people.
So I put that one down, and then at some point when I got back, I was like, well, I kind of want something that I can just chip away at in the evenings. So now, despite the fact that there's a Persona 4 remake coming out, I am now also chipping away at Persona 4 Golden. And what I'm saying is, my life is a mess, and I've gotten too far down this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And at some point, I'm just seeing all of them so that when they inevitably get remade, because it seems like they're remaking a bunch of them, I'll be able to be like, oh, I know a bit about this topic. You should commission me for a review.
Oh, I'm your expert. Yeah, sure.
Future-proofing.
Yeah.
Okay. I have looked up one of these charts just now. It's intense. You're right. It takes zooming in, which is a should be a sign that like you immediately get this thing where you're like, I can't read anything unless I zoom in. That's ridiculous. What is the Amala multiverse? Does that ring any bells to you? Is that a thing?
Amala might be the last Bible games, which were again another spin-off, which were only they're more like Pokemon in a lot of ways. They released 2 of them at a time, and they were mainly on handhelds. Which again, a weird name for your more child-focused series. But those games always had a lot of like religious imagery in them that could be really weird if you like looked into it too much. It's also worth like noting that like the first game in this series that came out in the West, the first Atlas Shin Megami Tensei related game, or Mega 10 is like the wider name of the franchise and the universe and the monsters and stuff. Was Jack Bros for the Virtual Boy.
Jack Bros?
Yeah, for the Virtual Boy.
Virtual Boy.
Which
I think I was more stuck on Jack Bros.
Jack Bros is, you might remember this from playing through Persona 4, Jack Frost and Jack-O-Lantern. It's a platformer where you play as the 2 of those. And that was the first game that came to the West. And they were like, this is the good stepping on point for everyone.
Yeah.
A Virtual Boy game.
How can we
go
go
some
wrong?
Jack Bros on my Virtual Boy. What?
Yeah. Just want to jack with your bros sometimes, you know?
Yeah, sometimes,
That's
you know?
Right, that's
virtually.
Right. Okay. Here we go. From a Reddit, I don't know why people keep calling it the Amala universe when the Amala network isn't really mentioned anywhere outside of Shin Megami Tensei 3. You don't see people calling it the Akarana multiverse, despite that also connecting to a good few locations. No idea what's going on there.
Yeah, so most of the like mainline SMT games are like, hey, the world ended and everything's fucked. And then a lot of the spin-offs are like, but what if the world didn't end? And some of them are, what if the world didn't end and it was still fucked and everything sucked? And it was like a techno future and everyone was miserable. And then the other ones are like, what if you were a teenager and going to school? And that's the Persona games.
That's the escapist fantasy now.
Yeah. It's made playing the Persona games really interesting because now suddenly I get the dissonance that those fans of the series had for such a long time with the Persona franchise of like why some SMT fans kind of othered the Persona franchise, because it is so different in a lot of ways. It is such a different vibe and such a different tone. Also, those medical games are part of that universe.
The Trauma Center.
Center ones, yeah. They're
really?
Yeah, they're Atlas as well. And there's like...
Those games were all right.
There's a bit of lineage between those. And then Catherine is also obviously part of that to a little bit.
But okay, so the thing that is resonating or it's trying to resonate, there's a glimmer, there's like a little gem. But you're saying that it is possible. This is like what we talk about sometimes where I really enjoy when people try to connect the Zelda universe. Mm-hmm. People are trying to put red string between all of these games. That's great.
In a way that you totally shouldn't, because the best way to, like, even the Persona games, you should approach these as this is an anthology, but people do not do that.
Yes.
And so you have a thing of like, well, the guy from Catherine showed up in the club in Persona 3, Portable, but that was before Catherine even came out, so they must have known that these universes were connected. And it's just like, no, they're all standalone and they all just have similar monsters. It's fine. That's all they're going for.
Nope.
It's not all fine.
No, and you should spend as much time as possible trying to find how they connect and make sure that it's correct, and then fight over it. I love it.
Anyway, I'm downloading English fan translations of games now, so that's where I'm at.
This is a world that you have entered that is not one many come back from.
What you're basically saying is, A, you're having a great time in the Shin Megami Tensei universe, and B, if anybody needs coverage,
yeah,
go
reach out.
Yeah,
when Persona 4 previews come around, holla at you.
If you, that's right, you'll have no better source to be like, well, this is where this falls in the universe. Yeah. This is. Do you think you would play? Okay, would you play? This is a multifaceted question. Mm-hmm. It's really two parts. The remake. Like 4 like 4 Golden's remake, whatever they're doing.
I totally will, because there's parts of 4 that I super don't like. There's parts of 4, and that's mainly in the writing. That's stuff that they kind of addressed in 3, where 3 has like a very infamous transphobic scene that they just cut out of 3 remake. 4, I think, requires a lot more work in some of its writing, because there's a lot of like weird gay panic stuff in that game. And I think that like them getting out there and calling it Rewind and saying we're using new voice actors has kind of made me be like, oh, maybe they are actually rewriting parts of this game. Maybe they are
interesting to revoice.
Yeah,
stuff.
Maybe they are like approaching this as a new take on that game rather than a remake. Which I think is probably the right way to go about it.
There's 4 Golden, and then there'll be this Rewind. That's okay. So you can see yourself playing all 3 of those?
Oh, no way. No way. I will play like another 10 hours of 4 Golden on my Switch in the evenings at like 2 a.m. when I'm watching Jeff Grubb do his podcast and I can't sleep. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this is fine. And like for those ones, I am following a guide. I am just doing the day guide. It may as well be a fucking visual novel for me at this point.
You still gotta do the battles.
Yeah.
I mean,
and like that's kind of what I like. There's something very... I don't know, this is my new version of like a podcast game of just following a guide and just doing that stuff and hitting all the checkpoints. There's something like soothing about it.
Are you gonna try and max out all the links, your S links?
So I have a platinum trophy guide pulled up, even though I'm playing on Switch. And I'm like, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? Why am I trying to min-max this still?
Because you are trying to satisfy a part of your brain that will scream at you no matter whether there are trophies or not.
Yeah, I'm suddenly like, I'm feeling more like, oh, I see why they played 100 hours of Assassin's Creed Shadows. I know what's happening to me here.
You sometimes you just, there's a part where you just want the comfort, right? You just want to do the thing. You need what is it? It's like almost like a vacation for your brain, right? You just like, whether you can't sleep, whether you just have some time to kill or whatever, you need to be visually stimulated, but maybe not so mentally stimulated, right? Like you need to, it's almost like meditation. Like sometimes when I'm playing Assassin's Creed, or especially Shadows, and I'm off doing something, I'm solving life's problems in my head while Naoe's off doing other things with my hands, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's so while you're building up your S-links, maybe you're just going through your day, just digesting your own day. Well, I look forward to your grid for how all
I'm going to put this all in a timeline, and it will all make sense, and if you tell me that it doesn't make sense, I will cut you.
Okay, that's right.
Fair.
I mean, they'd be wrong.
Yeah,
clearly. Yeah. What we should say is like, prove it. Show me the work. Show me why. Because you could put anything you want on there. There's like 7 people who could challenge you on it and be like, well, actually, I also played all of them. That may be more than that. I was just in that Reddit. It seems scary. All right. Anything else with the SMT world?
I would recommend that Rider remaster. It's a pretty fun, self-contained detective story, and it's kind of like an action game.
Yeah,
it's pretty fun. It looks really nice, and it looks really nice on Switch too. If you're like looking for something to play on your Switch too, and you don't have Donkey Kong yet, and you're like trying to figure out like what is actually playable on this for a long period of time, it's pretty solid.
So what is the gameplay loop? Because I don't know that much about it.
So Rider Remastered is super interesting because it is an action game. It is a 3D action game where you summon persona or devils or demons in this game.
Okay.
But they are just the different persona from Persona. And you summon those and they fight alongside you in these like arena combat. And they've tweaked the combat a little bit to make it a bit more modern, but it is basic, like very basic / heavy slash, and then you use like weaknesses to damage enemies. You can tell your persona to use their magic skills to like weaken enemies and to stun them and stuff. But ultimately, most of the reason you're there is to explore like a Taisho era Japan, which is a really interesting setting for a game, and kind of seems to be something that Sega is going back to with Stranger Than Heaven from the RGG folks. Because it looks like one of the time periods that will be set in is going to be like that Taisho era of kind of like turn of the century as industrialization is happening and bushing up against tradition and stuff like that.
So this is the mystery of the Soulless Army. Is that the subtitle for this one?
These games have the Devil Summoner games in particular have a terrible naming convention.
Rider Remastered, The Mystery of the Soulless Army.
Yeah, not to be confused with Devil Summoner, Raido Kuzunoha, and The Mystery of the Soulless Army. The original version of the game.
Wait, is it really?
Yeah, that's the name of the PS2 game.
Okay, good. Yeah. Glad we cleared that up for everybody. All right, should we move on to the break and then we'll go to get some news in here?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Those are all the video games. Don't worry.
Yeah, there's no more.
Covered them all. That's everything out there. There is that one game. Let me pull it up because I wanted to play it, but I didn't have enough time to that Commandos like game. Lexi, I didn't know if I wanted to see if you had heard of it. Eric's Home, The Stolen Dream.
Yes, I've been getting emails for that. Yes, it's like a stealth RPG kind of thing.
Yeah, I want to check that out. It just came out yesterday. I didn't get a chance to play it, so hopefully I'll play that for next time. And I don't know why I'm talking about games I didn't play. That's where we are now. But we're going to take a quick break. We're going to talk about the news in just a minute. So stick around. We'll be right back. All right, we are back, and it is time for the news. And there is some news here, though it's a bit of a messy news situation.
Yeah. Like grim, messy, not grim, just sad. Like it's just there is sad, but it is also like what is going on here type stuff.
I still feel like we're in the post summer announcement phase where if news is coming out about your studio or publisher, you probably don't want it to get out there, right? It's probably not.
It's either a release date or the worst shit that ever happened to you. One of the two.
Yeah. So let's kick it off here with what's going on with Subnautica.
Which is both about a release date and the worst shit that may have happened to some of these people ever.
Yeah, so Subnautica 2, highly anticipated. Obviously, Subnautica 1, very popular.
Gangbusters.
Yep, did very well. The short of it here, I'll try and sum this up, and then Alex and Lexi, you could help me fill out the details here. But the short of it, because it is a little messy and ongoing.
And it keeps going back and forth, yeah.
Is that we have two parties here. We have Krafton and Unknown Worlds. Unknown Worlds on the development side. Now their leadership has stepped away, been removed. It sounds like stepped away, right?
Forced out, maybe.
And Krafton has moved the release date to go into early access back
a year.
Where this starts getting even more complicated is that I guess there was some kind of big bonus tied to hitting a date that the Unknown Worlds leadership team wanted to hit. They were going to get $250 million. The Unknown World leadership team say they were going to disperse some of that amongst the rest of the team. Now it is being alleged, and Lexi, you said that something just came out in an actual filing for the lawsuit, alleged that the date was moved so Krafton could avoid paying out that bonus?
Yeah, so specifically what was the terminology of the deal was apparently that a goal was set for Unknown Worlds of if you make this much money in 2025, we will give you a bonus of $250 million. And Unknown Worlds' plan for that was to launch the game into early access in 2025 so that they could then hit that target. And then by the game being delayed, they won't be able to hit that target because they'll only be selling, Subnautica 1. And it seems like the three co-owners who were kind of ousted have now gotten out there. Ted Gill and Max McGuire have gone out there, and Charlie Cleveland, that's it, have gone out there and have filed a lawsuit against Krafton, basically alleging that decision was made as part of a months-long campaign to delay Subnautica 2's release, according to the lawsuit. And they're saying that was Krafton trying to make sure that the game didn't come out so that they couldn't hit that target, and that the devs in the studio, who some of them were like being promised upwards of six-figure payouts, 6 and 7-figure payouts, so like, life-changing money. It's worth noting that Krafton have been really aggressive on their side of things. They got out there and they sent...
Astoundingly so.
They put out a press release that they sent to press, like they emailed it to press, being pretty much saying, hey, these people derelicted their duties and weren't there for the project, and we felt we had to replace them, which is... those are fighting words for a company to put out in print, and to send to press means that they want it in print, means that they want it out there for people to be a part of the court record, essentially. And developers within Unknown Worlds have kind of said that they were aware of this bonus structure and that they are pretty disappointed about it, obviously disappointed about not having that much money come through. Krafton has also instated a interim leader. He is an ex...
Steve Papustis, right?
Yeah, ex-Striking Distance, right?
And I think he was an ex-Dead Space person. That's where I remember him from.
Yeah. So he's been put in there, and he's kind of got out there saying, like, oh, I wasn't aware of what the deals were in town halls. And recently, Krafton have also gone out there kind of lightly saying that they will honor the kind of contract for 2026.
I think they're saying they're looking into honoring the contract, but have not made any firm statements on that front.
And a lot of that reads as, oh shit, we got caught. but also we think we have a legitimate case against these people to get rid of them. It's messy.
It's worth clarifying. It's worth clarifying what it is they are actually saying it happened with these leadership people, because
Crafton is saying.
Because it's some very specific stuff, which are they start talking about the idea that they have essentially been in absentia to some degree because they have been working on other projects and letting Subnautica 2's development sort of like fall fallow over time, which is why the game seemingly failed to hit whatever benchmarks they were asking for, or, you know, like whatever vertical slices they were trying to hit, where they're saying there wasn't enough content in this early access version that was supposed to come out this year, so that's why we're delaying it. And I don't know that those guys have come out there and really specifically tried to refute any aspect of that, other than to say, no, Subnautica 2 was our number one project. We really wanted to hit these targets. And I think Crafton's other response was like, well, you know, that bonus was structured to go out 90% to those three guys, right?
Pretty wild for them to say, for Crafton to say, because that's the thing that I feel like big companies, especially multi-billion-dollar companies, just do not get out there and say.
Well, that's the point, is I think they are doing their best to try and demonize these guys. And again, I don't know them. I don't know if there's any veracity to these claims whatsoever versus just a corporation trying to cover its ass. But I feel like the specificness of this leads me to believe that, look, they may have had some legitimate beefs in there. I don't know if they are dismissed the leadership of this team level bad, but there's probably more going on there than just one side being wrong, blanket 100%. It's still fucking crazy.
Yeah.
This is a really wild move for a company to take.
Yes, this sounds muddy to me.
Yeah.
In a way that some of these things, multiple of these things may be true, and there might be some points that ring true on both sides, but man.
I mean, the only thing that's definite is that the people who are on the lower rungs at this company are getting fucked one way or the other.
That's right.
Because unless they straight up come out and say, no, we will pay the totality of this bonus and we will structure it so that everyone gets their piece, I kind of feel like they're just going to get screwed in this.
And if you're wondering who Krafton are, they're the South Korean company that owns Bluehole Studios, who were what's it called? The NeoWiz team, Liza P. They own PUBG and PUBG Studios. They also own Striking Distance, which put out the Callisto Protocol, which didn't really set the world on fire. And they recently were the team, or were this company that swooped in and bought Tango Gameworks and held that together. So I think there's a lot of people who are looking at Tango Gameworks and are now like, oh, I hope they don't get fucked out of stuff as well. Like, I hope they don't get fucked over in this. Because Tango and Unknown Labs seem to be their own. There's also a Craft in Montreal. Yeah. So there are non-South Korean owned companies within Crafton, but they are mainly South Korean subsidiaries.
We'll see how this plays out.
Here's the other like kind of unsung detail of this whole thing, is that it really gives you a scope for just how successful Subnautica 1 was. If we are talking about $250 million bonuses for an early access release, I think that indicates that like they signed a big deal, because that game, we knew it did gangbusters, but like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then how much money might be on the line. I mean, and also them suing Crafton, which is
instantly.
Which is I'm going to assume Crafton has a team of lawyers ready to take on those cases. So we'll see. There's Schreier's got some reporting on this going out. Like we just said, there's litigation being filed and happening. How far that goes, we'll see. How much comes out in there. Could be muddy. Could be crystal clear. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
In the end, it could end up just being Crafton's a bunch of assholes. We don't know. But
could be. I don't know. Weird stuff though. I think, like you said, Alex, probably the people who are going to get the 10% of that 250 million, probably the ones that asked out the most.
Yeah,
or have been working pretty hard there. Crafton should just inverse it and be like, we'll pay out that 250 million. You guys get 10%, and 90% goes to the rest of the team.
I'm sure they'll love that.
That's how it should go. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
On to the industry is a weird and fucked up place. Romero Games.
John Romero, Brenda Romero, their studio, They put out Empire of Sin, the sort of strategy mob game is how I would describe that. They came out a couple of years ago. We know who John and Brenda are. They are luminaries of the industry. And as a result of all this Microsoft stuff, a game they had in the hopper, basically with their next project, which seemingly was being funded or published by Microsoft, is now in deep flux because they lost their funding and they are currently shopping the game around. But right now, they don't know if the studio will essentially be able to recover from this.
Yes, so there was some early reporting that the entire studio was shuttering or closing, or that
there was word from a couple of anonymous employees at Romero Games who were saying it seems like we are just all out of work.
That doesn't seem to be the case now.
Well, yes and no, because I do think those people are out of work currently.
If you go on LinkedIn, and I would see a lot of these just because I'm in the local area and I'd be connected to connections to whoever. There's a lot of people who had Romero Games in their bio and are now like, I am no longer at Romero Games. And it's worth noting that Tom Hall was recently recruited for this game. That Tom Hall, he moved to Ireland to work on what was going to be a first-person shooter. Still might be a first-person shooter. But by all accounts, this game was pretty far along. They've been working on it since like 2022. They had a the day before this came through, they had a meeting with a Microsoft representative, or an Xbox representative, like checking on the game. And yeah, like it's a really huge blow for the Irish games industry in a really big sense, because Romero Games gave so much legitimacy to a industry that so often struggled to get recognition from the government. And having someone like John Romero, who you could be like, he's bringing these world famous developers over and you don't know who they are, but trust us, they're really important. It was a big deal. There's a thing called the Fish Game Summit, which I go to every year, which is a game summit in Galway. And for the first few years, Romero Games like supported that very heavily. And then years after that, a lot of people who came and talked at it, you know, Josh Sawyer and people like that, were pretty much people who John had met when he was at Midway. And it was very easy for him to be like, hey, come see this part of the world and talk to some young developers. And it was really making a difference. There's a bunch of really talented indie creatives there. And Romero Games was hiring up. Romero Games is, from what I gather, it's like there was about 100 people working on that game internally, or in the studio in Galway and remotely across the world. So like it wasn't a small game. The thing that I wanted to talk about, and I've talked about this on a few other podcasts, but like I've talked to people who would know the state of European publishing for Microsoft, and they're basically like, Microsoft's European publishing division isn't making any new deals anymore. All the deals that were made have been cut off, and so it's really interesting because the number of layoffs reported by Microsoft is that 9,100 number, but everyone I talked to is like, the indirect layoffs from contract studios is way higher. That number is way higher if you include that.
That's the stuff they can obfuscate because they're technically on the books, not as like full-time employees or, you know, like direct divisions of Microsoft.
Or projects getting canceled.
And it's kind of wild when you look at Microsoft's lineup for this year. Their two biggest games right now so far this year have been Tony Hawk 3+4, which was developed at Iron Galaxy with support from Virtuous Studios. And it was The Elder Scrolls 4 Remastered, which was developed at Virtuous Studios. And so those are external teams, and the way that it was phrased to me was like, a lot of those teams that were working on support, either support as, you know, helping out with development, or were just leading development and were outside of Microsoft technically, they're at panic stations now because they've had contracts that they were actively working on disappear overnight. And it's one thing if you have like a contract cancelled for months down the line because you can line up a different gig, but if you have 50 people working on a project and that contract disappears overnight, you now have 50 people working on nothing and you can't pay them. And that's a big problem. So there are people being laid off because of this, and that number isn't getting out there.
And so is that what it sounds like is happening at Romero Games? So they're saying that Romero's saying the studio's not shuttered, but there are people who are just not working anymore.
Yeah, because there's nothing for them to work on, and there's no money coming in for them to work on it. And so you literally can't pay them. So even if the studio does exist in a couple of months' time, it might be with a very different team or smaller team because people have moved on, because they've had to move on. They've had to get new jobs. They've had to, pay their mortgage and pay their rent and stuff.
As an aside to this, I cannot begin to tell you how sick I am of hearing the story of all these studios and all these different projects saying, like, we had someone from Microsoft here a week ago and they said we were good to go. We had Phil Spencer in the office. He said we were doing great, and then 10 days later, we lost our jobs. It just makes the whole operation seem like a clown show, like straight up. Like, you don't know, the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing.
Yeah, I agree.
There's no order to this. Like, all you're doing is setting people up and then knocking them down over and over again. And it's like, that's fucked up. And that's the kind of shit you should be asking for resignations over.
So the really depressing thing that I have heard coming out of Microsoft is, like, the Microsoft side is pretty happy with Xbox leadership because they're in a position where they can lay off a whole load of people and still be in the black. And they're like, that's great management. If you're at that point, that's great management for us from, like, a cold, hard cash point of view. And it's messed up. And if there's anyone who they're not happy with, it's not Phil. It's probably Matt Booty, who is the head of their studios. And it's the fact that there are projects being lost in the wilderness. And this is, you see this in the games that were cancelled. Everwild was cancelled, and several...
That MMO from the Elder Scrolls Online team.
Yeah, and the word out of Microsoft has always been they were very hands-off when it came to their development teams. The Xbox Studios people would always let developers work on what they wanted to work on, but what that actually manifested as wasn't, like, creative freedom. It was not having a sounding board or not having a reference or not having feedback. So with studios that had, like, really strong leadership, like Obsidian or, I'm trying to think of which other
like
studio.
Playground seems like they had a pretty solid ship running most of the time.
Or Tim Schafer and stuff like that. Like
Double Fine.
Yeah, Double Fine. Like they have a strong leadership in place already, so they were able to keep going with what they were doing. But then any team that started to get a bit lost in the weeds were kind of left alone, and they had no one to talk to. So Everwild was a game in development for like 7 or 8 years. And they never really had a video game there. They had ideas, they had mechanics, but everything that I've heard was like, this isn't like a product that we could sell yet. And you even look at, like, Arcane Austin. The reason Arcane Austin made Redfall wasn't because Microsoft told them. It's because they were under the impression that Microsoft wanted a multiplayer game. And so they were like, how do we make a multiplayer game? And then because no one at Microsoft came to the studio and was like, hey, what are you working on? You wound up in a situation where years of development went into this game, and they showed it to Microsoft, and Microsoft were like, what the hell have you been making? This isn't what we want from you. Like, and it seems like that's, if there's someone who's going to get the blame for a lot of this stuff, I do think it's going to be Matt Booty. And, there's only so much I know about the internal workings, but it does seem like he is the guy who people internally are pointing fingers at of he should be managing this and he isn't.
Well, and it also seems like he's the one that they've kind of put in the hatchet man position because Phil Spencer never wants to be in that position. He's the gamer that everyone likes. He can't be the one who's out there being the face of this stuff. So it does feel like it seems like Matt Booty's name comes up around a lot of these. And I mean, granted, it's probably part of his job is to oversee all these things. That said, this is blame from the top down. This is blame everywhere to go around. There is not just one hatchet man that you can say, like, is fucking all this up. This starts at the top and works its way all the way through.
Yeah, and even from, like, capital M Microsoft into Xbox games. And it's interesting, Lexi, what you're saying about the kind of leadership when you think also about Microsoft's or Xbox Games' acquisition of studios with strong leadership, and those people sometimes then move on, right? Or they leave, and you have a vision for a studio. Like if Tim Schafer left Double Fine, it's so much of Double Fine feels made in Tim Schafer's vision, right? Like, what does that studio look like once absorbed into Xbox games without a Tim Schafer, right? Is there somebody who pushes back on the bigger Xbox games team that can have that kind of weight to throw around like a Tim Schafer, right? Or is it somebody who gets put in there?
Have you watched the Psych Odyssey documentary, the 2-player productions one? Do you remember the bit when they do sell to Microsoft?
Yes.
And Greg makes the deal, and then a couple of weeks later, Matt Booty comes, and the teams are talking to him about, like, oh, we do Amnesia Fortnite, and some people, if we don't decide to develop the game internally, will do it on the side. And Matt Booty's kind of like, well, you know, that would be owned by Microsoft, so that's a conversation we have to have. And there's a shot, and it's a shot of Greg's face and a couple of other developers listening to Matt Booty say that. And you can just see the color drain out of them of like, oh, things are never going to be the same again. Like we have made this deal, and ultimately we are now part of this giant corporation that doesn't actually care a whole lot.
But you know, just we don't need a devil's advocate here, but you know, it's some of these studios are like Double Fine having a tough time making it on their own, right? Like there's money coming in to float.
Double Fine does not continue to exist.
Yeah, right.
I genuinely don't think that studio is still around if that Microsoft deal doesn't go through. And honestly, even they say like Psychonauts 2 probably ended up better for it because of the money and the direction they got. But that said, the thing that really stuck out in that documentary and was Booty's response, because you can't go into that studio and not have an answer to that question. Like that, if you are buying Double Fine, you know what Double Fine is. You know what they do. And that Amnesia Fortnite thing, that's not like a thing that just like randomly came up. Like they've been talking about that for years. They have made that the central ethos of like their whole indie period where they were just making those smaller games.
Like,
and there's a camera crew there. You have to have those answers.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, we've talked about this a lot. You know, I don't want to steer too far afield of what's happening with the people at Romero Games, but it is one of those things where it feels like part of that bigger consolidation, right? Where Xbox decisions that happen in a boardroom in Microsoft now affect, you know, 30% of an industry, right? Like because they have their fingers in so many pies, because they not only because they're a platform holder of Xbox, because they've bought so many studios, so many teams have been brought in, shuffled around, you know, all of these reverberations. But, you know, funding and publishing games like what was happening at Romero Games, where I am just shocked. I don't know what the laws are. I always assume maybe for worse that broader Europe has better laws when it comes to ending contracts this with more protections.
Yeah. Broadly speaking, they generally have a better setup than we do.
I will tell you, like, as someone who lives in Ireland, I think that what has happened here, because there was also layoffs, and these weren't, like, super widely reported either. There is a support center for Blizzard, Activision Blizzard, in Cork, and that place saw a bunch of people laid off. And that didn't even get, like, a write-up in local newspapers. And I think a lot of that is the Irish government. Ireland is like a tax haven in a very real sense. It has a very attractive corporation tax, which that is how the government frame it is. It's an attractive corporation tax, but it's more than attractive. And they don't want to upset these companies. There was a case recently where it was found out that Apple owed the government $3 trillion. It's
a lot of dollars.
Yeah, and the government was like, actually, we don't want it.
Oh.
Because they want to keep Apple around.
Yeah, they wanted to keep Apple happy. And the EU was like, no, Apple has to pay you. And Alan was like, no, bro, you don't. You totally don't. You're chill. You're good for it. You're good for it.
Yeah. We'll you make it up to us. We'll have dinner at some point.
Just sell a few more iPhones. You know, we'll get you. We'll catch you around next time.
Man. Well, so Romero Games stuff.
In flux at the moment. We don't know.
Yeah, the 20,000-foot view is, it sounds like there are people out of work. The studio's still open, shopping around. Whether or not those people can support themselves and get hired back, TBD.
I think a lot of people are probably just going to go find other work unless this stuff really resolves quickly.
But there is another Microsoft story here that just sounds gross. Alex, you want to kick this one off?
Yeah.
From King?
Yeah, sure. I'll do my best here because, all right. So one of the prevailing storylines I feel like that has sort of come out of a lot of these Microsoft layoffs, also with the background knowledge that a lot of what Microsoft is doing these days is entirely orbited around AI and its various AI investments. So
and specifically, just sorry to jump in here, specifically how to integrate that into workflows.
Yes, and in some cases, making sure that your department is integrating that into your workflows, whether you want to or not. And so what has happened here is that King was one of the companies that got hit pretty heavily with the layoffs in this most recent round. This is the
Candy Crush company.
Yes, the Candy Crush company. And one of the things that Microsoft repeatedly said over and over again, this is the real reason we're buying Activision, not for all this other stuff. And so they did lay off a bunch of people. And what some of those people are saying now is that it sounds like a bunch of their positions are being replaced by AI tools that they help build themselves.
Yeah, some of the reporting here is that the staff is saying they spent the last few years building and training the AI tools, and now
including things like level design.
And now basically being made redundant because those tools are being incorporated into that workflow.
Yes, those tools are no longer tools; those tools are the things doing the work.
It's interesting because this kind of couldn't happen yet at any other Microsoft-owned studio, because if you think about what the audience of Candy Crush want, it's just more levels that are the same as the old levels. So a large language model rehashing and reserving that over and over and over until the heat death of the universe makes sense. But it's never going to have a new mechanic. It's never going to have a new spin. It's never going to have a new item. It's never going to have any of these new ideas that you get from humans. I think on top of this one being incredibly shitty and awful and like pretty monstrous, the other thing is like you talk to people at other Microsoft studios and they are more than happy to tell you how terrible Copilot is. Like even
nobody likes it.
Even by the standards of dog shit AI workflow stuff, people are like, Copilot is beyond useless. And the fact that they are throwing so much money at it, the fact that like all these layoffs were in the name of investing in that, is like baffling. And I think it's been really interesting to see the tenor of the conversation change recently, because I think for a long time people were kind of like, hey, Microsoft is good for the industry because it injects a lot of money into the industry. It's like the biggest company in the world, so it gives studios funding. It gives, double fine funding to keep existing and stuff like that. But I think people are kind of at the point where they're like, hey, maybe this money isn't stable. Maybe this money is, they've seen that video games have grown as much as they're going to grow, and instead they think that AI might be the new growth market, and so they're diverting all of the money that goes into games. Because like Xbox games is profitable. It turns a profit every single year. This year was its most successful year on record, but it wasn't growing. It wasn't growing quickly. And they think that at some point AI might grow quickly. So they were like, we're gonna put it all on black. We're gonna bet the house that AI is going to actually take off, which if you talk to anyone who works with those tools, it's not going to take off in the way that they think it is. It's not going to become feasibly usable in that sense. And I don't know. I wonder what Microsoft provides to the games industry anymore, other than stability.
I think the thing you kind of nailed there is like people thought they were injecting money, but that implies a level of precision that has never actually been applicable to what Microsoft is doing, because what they are actually doing is taking a bunch of money and just sloshing it around everywhere and paying very little attention, it seems, to keeping that stuff stable over the long term. Like they are just throwing money at anything they can until that's no longer the company edict, and they're saying, well, let's just get rid of all that shit now. And again, the AI thing is the thing that's driving all of this. It's driving everything at Microsoft. It is driving the whole conversation around what the Xbox games division is doing, even in places where AI does not really seem like it is the applicable factor. It just unfortunately governs everything because that's the only thing Microsoft cares about right now.
It feels from this vantage point, it just seems extremely irresponsible.
Wildly.
Yeah, and not fostering of any kind of long-term growth for I think, Lexi, kind of like you were saying, for an industry, right? Like you're being irresponsible. You're not fostering the next generation of people to come and make games at all. Probably worth noting here in this, talking about King, Microsoft has not said anything. This is coming from some ex-King staffers, but it's very believable, right?
Well,
and
I think the thing they're talking about here is what makes it believable, which is that it's not just they're saying, oh, well, they replaced me with AI. They're saying, no, they're using the tools I helped build.
That's right. And not only did they help build, they helped train on and implement. And some of the other word going around that I feel like we've seen is that people don't even know how to effectively incorporate some of the Copilot and AI tools that they have been asked to use, because A, they're not doing the job efficiently, and B, they just don't know how they're supposed to use. It sounds like some of this is hearsay, and I can only say anecdotally, there are some mandates to report how you're using AI in your workplace, right? And people are like, I don't know how to use this thing in my job. It doesn't do the thing I need it to do, so I'm not using it.
I had a conversation with someone where we compared Copilot to a neurotic Clippy, of just like constantly being like, hey, you want a hand with this? You're gonna copy this? You want me to paste it? And it's like, no, I'll paste it myself, buddy. I'll paste it myself.
Like, it's right.
It's more like a hallucinating Clippy.
So like, I still think, AI as a tool to assist creatives and stuff like that, it's going to happen. We're going to be there. AI as the replacement, we're so far away from that, but I think that
we're not that far away from them trying, apparently.
That's right. I think the dollar signs in people's eyes, in people who are making some of those decisions, are blinding them to what the reality on the ground is. And I get the sense that we're not too far away from feeling some real consequences of this in the years, or even a year or two coming down the road with development. So, not just the people who are feeling it now are the people in development. And I think consumers, if things continue, are going to just be not only mired in also rans and slop out there. You're going to have an industry that didn't teach the next generation of people to make these games. Like, it's just going to be.
They
really
don't want
rough.
the next generation to make these games. They want this generation to train these AIs so they don't have to do that other shit.
Man.
It is kind of stunning though, because like AI has become such a death mark for games, where you saw like the Jurassic World Evolution game. They had the label on their thing of like, yeah, we use AI for some of our scientist portraits, and people were so mad about that, and they were like, I'm not buying this, fuck this game, and they had to walk it back. And like, imagine if you had a button that you could press that would make everyone hate your game instantly, and you kept on pressing it just to see if you could get away with it. Like, it's wild that it's this hated by the public. And people like recognize it as making the games worse, and yet it's still being insisted on.
I have to assume that Microsoft, for things like Candy Crush on their platforms, maybe where they don't even like, Steam has that you have to declare it, right?
Yeah.
And maybe Microsoft is like, we don't have to declare shit on our platforms. Figure that. I don't know if Apple has those tags on their store.
I don't think they do.
So like things like that where they could just get away with it, like for a Candy Crush or stuff.
Again, I think any company that is already invested in AI, it does not give a shit about putting any kind of like disclaimer on whether AI is used or not.
Yeah, because they're gonna make money on both ends.
Yeah,
right. They're gonna sell the technology. They're gonna sell the Azure cloud computing that's going to be running the AI and the games. It's just really, I don't know. I don't want to be bleak and dire about it, but I do feel like there is, I think, that kind of pressure campaign to label stuff that's like, hey, we understand that you use it as a tool, but there may be consumer consequences from this stuff. I think that is important for consumers to make that that feedback known.
I've been racking my brains trying to think if in my lifetime I can ever remember a time when I felt like something was being screamed at me as the big thing more loudly and more obnoxiously and more resoundingly rejected by people in general than this. And I can't think of anything, because generally when something like that was sort of like implied to be like, well, of course this is going to be the next big thing, it just fails instantly and no one cares. You know,
3D was pretty loud.
People moved on from NFTs.
How long did 3D
pretty quick,
last?
You know?
Yeah, NFTs. Yeah.
But like, how long did that shit last? Like, 3D TVs existed in stores for like 4 years. You know, like the NFTs thing was like a sordid 18 months. This has been ongoing, and the amount of money that has been dumped into
that's the thing.
Is so far beyond anything.
The money is bananas. I don't know. I wouldn't say it's been going on for too long yet. But the amount of roller coaster, it's going to drop out, it's not going to drop out, has been really intense.
Yeah.
Like, there has been a lot of speculation about what has been going on, what's the bottom or top of this curve, who's working towards their general AI, right? Like, who's close? Because you have I think also there are so many players involved that have such sway now in the market.
So much sway and so little taste.
Like Google, Meta, Amazon. Like, these are just behemoths that feel like they when they move, the earth moves now, and that's wild. I think that's different than the 3D TVs where you had basically.
I know. The scale is totally different here.
That's what I'm saying. I think that's what feels so different here.
And I'm saying I've never experienced anything in this in my lifetime, because I feel like this level of rejection from a mass audience is usually enough to eventually create a downward slope, but they just keep shoving money in the fucking coal fire, and just this shit is not viable. It's just not.
We might be in a bubble. Like, we might be in that bubble where there are plenty of people who are like, shove that, give me that crypto AI. Like, I want more
losers, Vinny. Losers. This is loser tech.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm just, somebody's making a mint, and people are losing a mint. It's wild out there when you're building whole city states that are just like, this computer, this warehouse that we're building, this initiative to build your AI facility is the size of a small town.
Yeah, let's poison the entire air supply of Memphis, Tennessee, so you can get an anime girlfriend on X, the everything platform.
Wait, can I really get an anime girlfriend on X?
Yeah, 7,000 people will die, Vinny, but yes, you can.
Look, it's about time. It's wild. It's moved like these that I think. I also think just it hasn't proven itself on the generative content side, where you're like, wow, it's really killing it. You know, like, where you're still like, I think it looks like AI. I think this sounds like there's this game series that this escape room series that my family and I would do, and they have like a subscription model, and I'm pretty sure the last couple have been AI, because there's an online
AI
feature
assisted,
to it. AI voiced, and it sucks.
That's
and we're just
the shit.
And like, we're just gonna stop ordering it, because it's like, because you sometimes you're like, I wonder if that's AI, and then sometimes you're like, no human would read this sentence like this, and you're like, what the fuck did you just say? That's not how a human. That's not how a human reads a sentence. There's no way. Like, the punctuation, the grammar, the tone, it's just all over the place, and it just ruins it for us. It's fun when you know there's a human. Like, when we used to play games that had really bad voice acting from like the 90s, like that just came over.
Those people need work too.
Yeah, and you'd be like, oh, this is fun. This is a terrible read, but at least I know there's a human on the other end that's reading this.
Someone
garbage.
got to check.
Yeah, like like Resident Evil, right? Like, because this is fun and dumb, but it's not fun anymore when it's just like, this is just a bad AI read.
This bad robot is not fun.
Bad robot. Well, Microsoft, figure it out.
Laying waste to the industry day by day.
One more less completely obnoxious Microsoft thing here is that Helldivers is coming to the Xbox, and we'll have cross-play, and that is on August 26th. Helldivers is a hell of a game.
Yes.
And more people should play it. And you'll be able to play it with your Xbox friends at the end of the summer.
I'm going to ask a question, and I don't mean this
please.
to be flip, though I kind of do.
Okay.
I'm not saying don't do this, by all means, whatever. Put it on whatever platform you want. But what is the actual number of people who want to play Helldivers, cannot play it on a PlayStation, also cannot play it on a PC, only can play it on an Xbox?
That are left?
That are left.
I'm gonna say, yeah. I mean, what you're saying is the behind the scenes on that is Xbox not the greatest selling console out there.
And again, if you really want to play it, on a platform and you don't own a PlayStation 5, the home computer is right there for you.
But I think out of any of the Sony slate of games, this is maybe the one where they would have the most success on that platform, because that market is primed for it. It's people who love Gears of War and people who love online multiplayer shooters. Like that seems like the one game in Sony's catalog where it really makes sense. Like, I don't think many Xbox fanboys are dying to play The Last of Us. Finally, they're like, no, I'll just watch the TV show. It's fine.
No, it is my firm belief that the 750 of these people who exist will all play Helldivers 2. I mean it.
Look, there are plenty of people out there who have Xbox S's and X's who will be able to play this now that don't have access. Like, look, computers are still very expensive.
Oh, I know. I'm not saying
expensive.
it's just this is frivolous cost-wise. I'm just saying that, like, I think...
No, I'm saying, like, the S
more
was
people
a lower
are playing
barrier
PC
to
games
entry.
than ever before.
Yeah, there are plenty of people, and they should play Helldivers, too.
And especially if you're into shooters, for instance, I feel like you may have thought at one point in time or another investing in some kind of personal computer.
They're expensive. They're tough. Not everybody wants. It's that age-old thing. Not everybody wants to like muck around with the computer.
I'll tell you right now, as someone who works off of a gaming laptop, fucking desktops are expensive still.
Yes.
Never been a worse time to build a PC.
Seriously, like for a video card, you can get like 4 Xboxes at this point. So, I think there are more people. I will defend the people out there. I think there are more people. This is probably a really good investment for Sony and Arrowhead to put this out there.
They wouldn't do it if they didn't see money in it.
It was like an easy win for that community as well, because that community is constantly like, we just need more players. We just need more players to help win the war. And like it actually really helps them from that perspective of like, we have a whole new front to fight on. And it's like, this is,
I have some bad news. There's always going to need to be another platform. We're always going to need more players. There's always going to be more war.
So war never changes.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of things coming to an Xbox, but some stuff that will be leaving platform soon. Remember that John Wick game? Remember that
John Wick Hex?
The Bithell one?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently it's getting delisted and nobody really understands exactly why. Maybe the license is done.
I can tell you almost assuredly why. A license expired and someone didn't want to renew it.
Yeah, maybe it didn't sell well enough. And so, like most of these things go, if you own it, you'll still be able to download it from your digital library. Obviously, physical copies will still work, but you will not be able to purchase John Wick Hex as of, what's the day of this recording? Tomorrow.
Okay.
So heads up, by the time this is up, you probably won't be able to buy it anymore.
It's
July
in a
17th.
Humble Bundle if you haven't, and I'm assuming those Humble Bundle keys will still activate for a little while.
Okay.
So, maybe go out there and check if that Humble Bundle is still there. I bought this last night. This was one of the first ever games I previewed at a show. I previewed this at Gamescom. The actual first game I previewed ever as a games journalist was Cyberpunk 2077.
Speaking of games that were once delisted.
Yeah.
Or speaking, well,
and you've been playing MindsEye, which seems like maybe one day might. I think they beat the trend at this point. They're going to make it.
I do remember in 2019 coming out of that appointment, and I was young enough that my dad came to Gamescom that year and was like stuck outside of the business area, which like God bless his fucking heart, because outside of the business area in Gamescom is rough. But I came out to them, and he kind of knew that it was a big deal. He didn't really understand what it was, but he was like, so like, how was it? And I remember saying to him, like, I don't know how much of that was real. And I feel pretty good about calling that shot.
Yeah.
Fair, accurate. Let's just so John Hex, because we're going to move into our last thing here, which is a little cyberpunk related, or mostly cyberpunk related. So John Wick Hex delisted. I'm sorry, by the time you hear this podcast, it might have been delisted already. Cyberpunk, I will say, the version of Cyberpunk I played was pretty good. I really enjoyed it. And
yes, when they finally got that game together, it came together all right.
Yeah, and apparently there's that, even though they said they weren't, they're still making updates to that game and putting out like drips and drabs of new content, or at least there's another small update coming out for that.
They're doing stuff. It's not like big story content or anything, but I think it's just like, here's a little extra for you.
You can run a taxi service now.
Okay. Which was exactly what I wanted to do in Cyberpunk. The last bit of news here that I was going to throw out there was that CyberPunk Edgerunners, the cartoon animated series cartoon.
Very successful animated series, Netflix, right?
Yes, Netflix is getting another season, which is kind of surprising. That came out years ago, 2022, I think, is when Edgerunners came out. So it's been re-up for another season. That's going to make a lot of people very happy. People love that first season. I watched probably about 3/4 of it about the time we were doing the Cyberpunk stuff, because some missions did tie back into the animated series. I don't know if I ever wound up finishing it, but I actually really liked it as well. I didn't finish it. I think I finished it.
I heard a lot of people talking about that in the same breath as stuff like Arcane, as far as in like that Castlevania series of like, hey, this shit is actually legit good and not just for fans.
And I think they've said as well that it's going to be anthology. It's going to be like a different
separate stories each season.
Yeah. So the David, I think, is the main character from the first one. I think that's not going to carry over into the next one, which is totally fine, because again, I think that universe outside of even the game is fleshed out enough to hold a bunch of stories. Night City, it's a big place. Man, I just liked having my sword and running around and doing cyber ninja nonsense in that game.
Yeah, it was pretty dumb.
It was pretty dumb. Pretty dumb. All right. I think that's it for the news, unless there's anything else cracking out there.
Not that I've seen.
There are a lot of really cool games out there.
Yes.
I mean, like, if you want to end on a slightly lighter note, they cast Link and Zelda for that.
I saw that. I didn't know who the people were. Do you?
They're young adult actors. They're in a million fantasy things. They were very generic actors to me. But I guess, like, the one...
They look the part-ish enough.
Yeah, once they, dye that kid's hair pink, he'll look like Zelda.
That's the right choice, yeah. And also they're gonna make or I saw that Nintendo had started the patent process, whatever it is, to start a movie for Donkey Kong. They're gonna make a Donkey Kong movies, because of course they are.
Starring Seth Rogen.
It'll be the Seth Rogen version, right?
I assume.
Starring Jeff Bakalar.
Yeah. Easy to get confused. I understand the confusion there. He
was great in that Apple TV Plus show. Has anyone told Bakalar that yet?
I bring it up all the time.
Yeah, he was really good. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it was the one where he's a movie producer.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah.
I didn't like that movie. He was making pickles in Brooklyn so much, though.
No,
I was surprised how emotionally gripping he was in The Fableman. That was really good.
Yeah. He had a moment.
Yeah.
He was stretching. He's stretching out there. He's hey, Bakalar's got his webcomic out, and people should go check that out. This is for real. This is not Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
But people should go check that out.
I don't think Seth Rogen has a webcomic.
It would be really funny if Seth Rogen started a webcomic, though.
You don't think Seth Rogen has money in a webcomic?
Well,
Seth
maybe,
Rogen has like written comic book stuff, I think.
Yeah,
I know that he currently does.
Yeah, he was the co-producer of The Boys and stuff.
Yeah, right. I was going to say Seth Rogen probably making more money from webcomics than any of us.
That guy is probably making more money from things generally than most of us are at this point.
Probably making money from us doing this bit about Bakalar and Seth Rogen in some weird way. But Bakalar's got What Lies Below the Lilies. And I'll give him a plug here. You should go check that out. I think it's on Story Grounds. I believe that's right. But yeah, I was going to say with the Zelda stuff, live action.
It's a choice.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard for me. I guess maybe when I see a trailer, it'll all pop. But that's...
Or will it?
I don't know.
I mean, is it just going to look like that fucking Snow White live-action remake? Like, is it just going to be kind of a weird muddy gray and then some young actors you don't know just pantomiming a thing you kind of do?
Do you put Link in a green tunic the entire time?
People will fucking riot if you don't.
Or do you just not?
What? Are you talking about like doing like the old X-Men thing of like giving him like a black leather suit because you think the original costume's too corny?
Literally just going to say, do you give him like a black leather, like straps all over him, dark Link?
You want your dark adult Link.
Yeah. Like, I don't know.
I want him to turn into a wolf.
Yeah. And fuck.
This is for the real fans.
Yeah.
All right, that's the news. I think we're going to wrap up the show here. We are going to pass on emails, but the emails, to get them in, we'll catch them next week. Podcast@nextlander.com. Podcast@nextlander.com. Podcast@nextlander.com.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Brad unfortunately takes the email net with him wherever he goes, so we don't have it. Sorry.
He's eating them. He's devouring them right now. We've got a bunch of stuff going on the site.
It makes me laugh every time you say it.
Someday we'll have the site, but you should check that out. We have the Watchcast, which will have a new episode go up next week. We recorded that one early. We're off this week on Star Trek, but we'll kick things back off next week, and then we're getting into, Alex, on the Star Trek season 2 Watchcast. The Tribbles are coming. It's the one I know.
Yeah.
It's
not the one that's going to air, like the podcast that's going to air next week. It's the one after that. But yes, we're coming up on a couple of the biggest episodes of the show, period.
Finally, I've never seen it somehow.
I'm not telling you shit, except there's Tribbles.
Great. Thank you. Don't spoil it for me. We didn't talk about it here in the games, but on Monday, Alex, you and I and Will played Mycopunk.
Yes, another early access experience.
The very Deep Rock Galactic like shooter.
Pretty good.
Yeah, fun. It was fun. I had a good time with it. We didn't cover it here. Maybe we'll play more of it with Brad when he comes back from break. I feel like he'd really enjoy that. And then on Tuesday, Abby, Alex, and I jumped into Crime Simulator, where we had a rough start, but by the end, we fulfilled our crime quota.
Yeah.
We made it.
I feel like you've really been inflicting some choice games on Abby recently.
Abby is one of the greatest. You might not know this. Abby loves improv. Mm-hmm. She is one of the greatest yes and that stands for bad games as well. She is good for a yes and even on a bad game. And sometimes she is the one who says, let's just do it. I've got a game. Let's try it out.
Game for anything.
Abby is super fun to play any game with. So there are some people who just won't put up with the nonsense, but Abby will. Thank and bless her. And then Friday, we're going to go and check out Donkey Kong Bonanza, a game that I'm getting oddly excited to play, kind of the more I see of it and the closer we get to release. I'm not sure why. Something about it's
because it's a second game for your Nintendo Switch 2.
That's maybe a little bit of it, but I think also my kids are on summer break and my daughter is like, what do I play? And I'm like, I have the game you should play.
I mean, I don't have it, but I will have it.
I have it on Friday. So I've been watching some stuff with her, and as we watch it, I'm like, man, that does just look kind of fun. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll see on Friday how that goes. You can check all of that stuff out over in the various places, the Twitch and the YouTube, not to mention Matt Rory was on the Ramblecast. You want to know about an A-tier, S-tier Rambler. Let me tell you about Matthew Rory.
He's the Ramblin' Matt.
He is a Rambler, and he is fantastic at it. You can check that out over at the Patreon, patreon.com/Nextlander. You can jump on there, go find out all the stuff that's been on the Patreon, Never Been a Better Podcast, Planorama, Ramblecast, all the casts that are meant to be casted. I don't really have a way to tie it all together. The casts are up there. On the Patreon, patreon.com/Nextlander, you can find a tier that is right for you. that fits. There is one tier there, though, that gets their name read on this here show, and that is the Mysterious Benefactors tier. And I'm going to read those names for you right now, starting with Jerry Lee, Sean Miller, Sending Good Vibes on the Internet, RRE, Alpha Rhythm, Infelicitous Rips, David L., Kelly F., Brian Lucier, Skywarp, Jason Grimm, John Hubbard, NXL Retirement Fund, Evan Cook, Mark Wilhelm, Jerry Lee, Deidre Dunquick, Gary Pejke, Robert Fisher, hashtag Bunny Crimes, Jad Rita, Statics, Brian Murphy, Randy Duax, Randy Alderson, Andrew Tiebkin, Alex Wu, It's Me JP, Edward Chick, Andrew Slosky, Steve Lynn, Matthew Herrig, David Campos, and Tyler Treese. Those are our Mysterious Benefactors for this week. Thank you to all of them, and thank you to everyone who has supported us in the past, in the future, in the present. Thank you, Lexi.
Yeah, then quick shout out to Matt Roy as well. When I first came out and I wanted to change my name on the Giant Bomb website because I had my dead name in it, Matt got in there in like 2 minutes flat and changed it when I sent him a DM. Absolute sweetheart.
Matthew Rory is one of the weirdest and most well-meaning people I know.
Yes.
Like an odd duck with a heart of gold.
It also doesn't surprise me because I bet he was absolutely glued to that keyboard the second you DM'd him, and he was just like, nope, I'm ready. I can do this. Let's go.
Always a good, fun story, and always like the most well-intentioned, and then be like, that is a really weird way to go about that.
Yep. Never one to take the beaten path, that Matthew Rory.
Yes. All right. I think we're going to wrap up the show here. Lexi, pitch something.
Yeah, you can find me on Blue Sky. I'm at lexluddy.xyz. You can read some of my stuff over on rewinder.co.uk. If you want to support the work that I do, you can either support that Patreon, or alternatively, you can go check out Start Menu if you want to help people break into the games media, what little there is still of it. And you can support that on Patreon as well, patreon.com/startmenu. I have 2 podcasts, one for each thing, and those go every second week. This week, I'm recording a Start Menu podcast with the very lovely Squidge Rugby, who is a rugby YouTuber that I'm friends with, and he is a big Nintendo nerd as well, and just a swell guy. So check that out.
And if people want to hire you, what's the best way to get their Shin Megami Tensei coverage cooking?
Oh, just email me, lexiluddy@gmail.com. I'm free. Call me. Call me.
Give me a ring ding ding. Come on, let's do it.
Yeah. Lines are open. Well, thank you very much for joining us and elevating this podcast. We appreciate it. Bringing some well-needed knowledge. Now we can officially say we are knowledgeable podcasters.
European culture.
Now we know what's going on in Europe.
Yeah.
That's right. European culture. That's it.
No need for the European quick look anymore. European culture is here.
Yeah.
We appreciate your time, and we appreciate you coming and talking about all things video games with us. Alex Navarro, welcome back.
Thank you. Likewise, brother.
Brad Shoemaker will be returning next week. At least that's the plan.
Yeah, as far as we know.
To have a Brad Shoemaker return next week. I think that's everything. Let me just check my notes here.
Walk through that door, email net slung over his shoulder, just ready to dump them all on the table.
That's right. The email. I thought you said email nut, and then I was like, no, it's email net. That makes way more sense than the email.
Well, you know, I'm thinking about some things now. I'm imagining how this might go. I could maybe find a way there. We'll see.
We need to end the show.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll be back next week.